Chapter 80. With Lin Feng's cultivation, he naturally couldn't remove the seal left on the storage bag by a golden elixir period cultivator. However, he had the Yellow Springs True Water that could purify all things. He had taken the Yellow Springs Pearl from Wang Lin. Although he could not use the Yellow Springs Pearl to fight, it was still very convenient to draw out a little Yellow Springs True Water to remove the seal Huikong left on the storage bag. Opening the storage bag, sticking his head out to take a look, Lin Feng instantly curled his lips. This monk Huikong seemed to have walked the path of ascetic cultivation. There was nothing good in the storage bag. Apart from some clothes, silver, and other miscellaneous items, there were only some medicinal ingredients. Lin Feng didn't know anything about medicinal ingredients. He could only bitterly compare them with the system to identify the types of medicinal ingredients. As he looked, Lin Feng was overjoyed. These medicinal ingredients were actually the raw materials for the Thunder Sound Great Rejuvenating Pill. With these medicinal ingredients and Hui Ku's pill recipe, Lin Feng could refine the Thunder Sound Great Rejuvenating Pill by himself. Not bad, not bad. Although it's a little troublesome, it's nothing. I can do it myself. Lin Feng thought happily and continued to check the storage bag. Suddenly, a bronze mirror caught Lin Feng's attention. The mirror was about a foot in diameter. The frame was intact, but there was a big hole in the middle of the mirror. However, Lin Feng could clearly feel that there was still spiritual qi left in the bronze mirror. Lin Feng picked up the bronze mirror. Suddenly, the system's notification rang in his ears. Host has triggered a random side quest, repair the heaven and earth mirror. Lin Feng opened his mouth wide. After a long time, he finally closed it. My luck improved greatly. The side quest for the Wind and Thunder Seal had not been completed yet. Now, there was another one. Happiness came too suddenly. It really caught Lin Feng off guard. You're called the Heaven and Earth Mirror? That's a very impressive name. Lin Feng calmed himself down and started to read the quest description. Random side quest, repair the Heaven and Earth Mirror. Quest background, the Heaven and Earth Mirror has been greatly damaged. It has lost its previous miraculous effects. Only the galaxy sand can repair it. Quest objective, go to the Great Swamp of the ancient region and collect enough galaxy sand to repair the Heaven and Earth Mirror. Quest time limit, 3 months. If the quest is not completed within the time limit, the quest will be invalid. Lin Feng scratched his head. They're both 3 months, but the Great Hengduan Mountain Range and the Great Swamp Guyu are on the east and west, the distance between them is more than 1,000,000 miles. Even with the Black Cloud Flag, I won't be able to travel to both places in 3 months. With such a long distance, even with the Black Cloud Flag, it was impossible to run to both places in 3 months. The Black Cloud Flag could only move within a short distance. Flying in the air was obviously not fast enough. This was only for the time spent on the road. If I were to search, I would need to complete the quest, the Qin wouldn't have time. Both quests required him to find an item. If the item was placed there, it might not necessarily be taken away by someone else. However, if the quest was not completed within the time limit, the reward for the side quest given by the system would definitely be lost. Lin Sex Dao's phone quests was needs. Lin needed to exchange for Star Quest. The side quests were all randomly assigned. If he missed this village, he wouldn't know when he would get another one. Lin Feng believed in one principle, and that was the preservation of one's character. Today, his character had exploded. It would be a long time before he would receive such treatment again. How distressing. Lin Feng shook his head and once again rummaged through Huikong's storage pouch. After finding nothing else, he turned his attention back to the pile of medicinal ingredients. I'll first think of a way to get a pill furnace and then refine the Thunder Sound Great Cyclic Pill. The longer Xiao Yan's injuries are delayed, the worse his condition will be. Lin Feng controlled the Black Cloud Flag and flew for thousands of kilometers before landing. After asking for directions, he took off again and arrived at an ancient city in the southeast of the Great Qin dynasty. Just like Chuzhou, this place also had a huge cultivation material market. Lin Feng's goal was to exchange for a pill furnace. Even though there are pill furnaces in the exchange system, and they are good stuff, but the amount of points needed to exchange is too much. Right now Lin Feng urgently needs a large amount of points to exchange for Dao techniques. He really can't bear to exchange for a pill furnace. Thus, he could only come to the market himself. However, Lin Feng was more careful. He brought Zhu Yi along. After entering the market, he instructed Zhu Yi and the two of them went their separate ways. Lin Feng wandered around for a long time, but he still couldn't find a suitable pill furnace. The pill furnace's complexity was the highest among all Dharma artifacts. The refining process involved alchemy, formations, and many other things. The difficulty of refining was ranked first in the Tao of refining. The thunder sound great cyclic pill was also not an ordinary pill. To refine such a high-grade pill, a good pill furnace could greatly increase the success rate and play a great role. Lin Feng, who didn't gain anything, sighed. After confirming Zhu Yi's position, he walked over and saw Zhu Yi bargaining with a loose cultivator. Lin Feng took a closer look. What Zhu Yi is holding in his hand is precisely a pill furnace. It looks pitch black and ordinary, just that the style is a bit more ancient. However, Lin Feng didn't dare to look down on this pill furnace, because it was Zhu Yi's. Who was Zhu Yi? The son of the Kiliacosm, the king of luck. His luck was full of 10 points. Even Tiny Tot and the others, who were also at the Son of Heaven level, couldn't compare. This kid was definitely a great killing machine for finding treasures. At this time, Zhu Yi also saw Lin Feng coming over. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Master." At the same time, he secretly transmitted his voice to Lin Feng using magic power. "Master, although this pill furnace looks ordinary, disciple always feels that it is a bit strange. Master, please make a decision." Lin Feng thought to himself, "Good disciple, as long as you feel that it is strange." But on the surface, Lin Feng only glanced at the pill furnace indifferently and then no longer paid attention to it. Zhu Yi also didn't say anything and obediently stood behind Lin Feng. Seeing that Lin Feng was the real owner, the loose cultivator hurriedly used his glib tongue to recommend his goods to Lin Feng. Lin Feng casually picked up a white jade box. It was slightly cool to the touch, but he didn't feel cold. The ice-cold aura inside flowed continuously and evenly, without the slightest change. When the seller saw it, he immediately excitedly introduced it. "Fellow Taoist really has a good eye. This yuan sealing box is of extraordinary quality. It was carved from an entire yuan sealing stone. When precious medicinal ingredients are placed inside, not a single bit of spiritual energy and medicinal properties will be lost. It is really a rare treasure. Some spiritual herbs would quickly lose their spiritual energy once they were picked, turning into waste. At this time, with this yuan sealing box, one wouldn't fail on the verge of success." Lin Feng asked indifferently, "How much is it? I wonder if this fellow Taoist is prepared to use items or medicinal pills to exchange for it." "Yuan cultivating pill, do you want to take it?" Yuan cultivating pill was a medicinal pill that Lin Feng had obtained from Huikong's storage bag. It was rich in spiritual energy and could strengthen one's foundation. It was helpful for cultivators to cultivate Tao techniques. The loose cultivator's eyes immediately lit up. Unless he knew how to refine pills, it was very difficult for a loose cultivator like him, who didn't belong to a sect, to obtain medicinal pills that were helpful for cultivation. If it's yuan cultivating pill, there is no problem. The loose cultivator smiled. 30 yuan cultivating pills and this yuan sealing box is yours. Yuan cultivating pills were not easy to refine. Huikong's storage bag only had 50 to 60 of them. Hearing that the other party actually dared to ask for an exorbitant price, Lin Feng wasn't angry. He looked at the other party and lightly spat out 2 words. "Too expensive." The loose cultivator scratched his head. "Fellow Taoist, this is really good stuff. Think about it, if there wasn't a yuan sealing box, wouldn't you cry to death if you encountered a spiritual herb that would rapidly lose its spiritual energy after being picked? Lin Feng said lightly, since you sold the yuan sealing box, you are not a person who picks medicinal herbs to refine pills. There is no use for you to keep the yuan sealing box. The yuan cultivating pill is what you urgently need. I am willing to use medicinal pills to exchange for items, so you should give me a more reliable price. The smile on the loose cultivator's face froze. He felt bitter in his heart. Originally, he saw that Lin Feng was an unfamiliar face, so he asked for an exorbitant price. He didn't expect the other party to be so clear about it. He clenched his teeth and said, 25 yuan cultivating pills, I really can't go any lower. 5. Lin Feng grinned, but it almost made the loose cultivator jump. How is that possible? Are you here to cause trouble? Seeing the other party fly into a rage out of humiliation, Lin Feng wasn't anxious and said leisurely, you just said that this was carved from a whole piece of yuan sealing stone. The loose cultivator's heart skipped a beat. He saw Lin Feng point at the yuan sealing box and say, then tell me, what's going on with this seam that fits together? Cause trouble? Who wants to cause trouble? Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed and became cold. What do you think the consequences will be for frauds in this market? Laughing bitterly, the loose cultivator said in a low voice, fellow Taoist, please forgive me, I have no choice. How about this, 20 yuan cultivating pills? Seeing that Lin Feng's eyebrows were raised again, he hurriedly changed his words and said, 15. I really can't go any lower, otherwise I'll lose money. 10. If you agree, we'll hand over the money. Otherwise, we'll go to the market management and have a good talk. Lin Feng said with a cold smile. The loose cultivator's face was bitter and he couldn't reply. His eyes darted around for a long time and suddenly saw the pill furnace that Zhu Yi had his eyes on. He hurriedly said, 15 yuan cultivating pills and I'll give you this pill furnace. Your disciple had his eyes on it just now. Done, today's luck really exploded. Lin Feng secretly made a peace sign and pretended to be polite on the surface. Then, he successfully got the pill furnace. Walking out of the market, Zhu Yi looked like he wanted to say something but was hesitant. Lin Feng looked at him and asked, do you think it's strange that I haggled with that junior for a mere few yuan cultivating pills? Zhu Yi pursed his lips and replied, disciple has some doubts in his heart. Please enlighten me, master. Lin Feng smiled leisurely. In the end, it's all about money. But you must not underestimate money. Zhu Yi replied, although disciple has studied hard, I'm not a pedantic bookworm. But I always feel that haggling over a small profit is a bit difficult to understand. Lin Feng looked at him and said solemnly, the so-called money, in fact, contains a kind of indestructible and powerful force. Think about it, under the heavens, there are far more people who ask for money than those who pray to immortals and Buddha. The word money runs through the entire human Tao and passes through the boundless world. Almost everywhere there are people, there is money. The common will of billions of people gathered together, that is a huge amount of will. Have you ever thought about this? Lin Feng gently waved his sleeves and lightly said, there is reason everywhere in the world. There is a great Tao and a small Tao. These words are not said casually. Zhu Yi was stunned by Lin Feng's words. After a long time, he recovered and bowed. I will follow master's teachings. Disciple was shallow before. Lin Feng calmly nodded and walked forward with satisfaction. Zhu Yi quickly followed behind him. Bringing Zhu Yi back to his residence, Lin Feng immediately took out the pill furnace and began to ponder what kind of treasure it was. Chapter 81. Lin Feng carefully observed the alchemy furnace in front of him. It had 3 legs, a pointed top, and was completely black. The furnace was engraved with faint patterns, but now it was covered in dust. It was obvious that it had not been used for a long time. Lin Feng injected his mana into it, but there was no reaction. He put in some medicinal ingredients, but there was no reaction. It really is strange. Lin Feng scratched his head. No wonder this alchemy furnace looked so old, as if it had not been used for a long time. It looked like a useless piece of trash without any spirituality. But Lin Feng did not plan to doubt Zhu Yi's luck. He entered the exchange system and opened the list to search one by one. The strange patterns on the furnace could be used as an important symbol. Hard work pays off. Lin Feng almost found an alchemy furnace at the bottom of the list. Its characteristics were very similar to the one in his hand. The outer core furnace was made from meteoric iron. During alchemy, it would produce its own flame, adding a strong fire power. Thus, it could greatly increase the success rate of alchemy. The required exchange points were 3,000 points. Lin Feng slapped his forehead. He could not wait to go next door and hug Zhu Yi and kiss him. 3,000 points. Even if he sold himself, he would not be able to gather so many exchange points. From the beginning of the system until now, including the novice gift bag, the total amount of exchange points Lin Feng had accumulated was only 2,800. Lin Feng had 700 exchange points on hand, but it was only enough to buy one leg of the outer core furnace. Not bad at all. Lin Feng was overjoyed, but then a question arose in his mind. If this alchemy furnace was so good, why did no one discover it? If one or two people could not discover the secret of the alchemy furnace, why could no one discover it? Carrying this doubt, Lin Feng carefully looked up the information on the furnace of the outer sky, discovering that there is a line of explanation: only the 7 great true fires can bring out the full potential of the furnace of the outer sky. Lin Feng blinked and felt a slight bitterness in his mouth. He finally understood why others could not discover the magical use of this alchemy furnace. The 7 great true fires were the pinnacle of firepower in this world. Every single one of them could infinitely increase their power. They were boundlessly tyrannical and could destroy the heavens and earth. How could their fire seeds be so easy to obtain? Lin Feng pressed his throbbing temples and told himself to calm down. He pondered over the description of the out-sky core furnace word by word. Unleashed to the limit. In other words, the spiritual fire that is slightly lower than the 7 great true fires can also be used by this pill furnace, but it will not be able to unleash its full potential. Lin Feng pondered for a while. The higher the level of the spiritual fire, the more obvious its effects are. If the level of the spiritual fire is too low, it will not be able to activate this pill furnace. Thinking of this, Lin Feng calmed down. The fury of the Akala was publicly recognized as a high-grade spirit fire second only to the 7 great true fires. Lin Feng immediately laid down the 24 heaven arhat formation, and then according to the previous method, with the 3 flame arhats as the core, condensed the fury of the Akala. The milky white flame fell into the outer core furnace, and the furnace immediately changed. It was as if a giant that had slept for a long time had finally awoken. Around the milky white fury of the Akala, with a bang, a crimson-red flame lit up, pulsating like a powerful beating heart. Following the beating of this heart, lines of fiery red lines appeared on the walls of the furnace. At this time, the outer core furnace that was originally only the size of a palm rapidly grew in size, until it was 2 meters tall, and its diameter was also close to 2 meters before it stopped. It steadily landed on the ground. From within it an astonishing mana fluctuation leaked out. Lin Feng smiled. That heart-like crimson-red flame, it should be the so-called heart fire. Woo! It really is extraordinary, the burning power of the flame, compared to the fury of the Akala, it is not too far off. Cultivators that are good at concocting pills, the Dao techniques they train in are often fire-type Dao techniques. They need to use their own mana and true fire to transform into pill fire to concoct pills. Lin Feng cultivates the art of Akala. He does have pill fire, but he has never concocted pills before, so his heart couldn't help but be anxious. Placing the ingredients for concocting the sonic thunder pill into the furnace, Lin Feng began to carefully control the pill fire. Sometimes, you have to admit, learning certain things really does depend on talent. Lin Feng worked himself to death, after tossing and turning for half a day. In the end, when he opened the furnace to take out the pills, what appeared in front of him was only a furnace of charcoal. Is the fire too fierce? Or is the ingredients wrong? Lin Feng scratched his head in distress. He did have a lot of ingredients, but he can't practice like this. Lin Feng furrowed his brows and thought for a moment, then a light suddenly flashed in his mind. You fellow apprentices, come to master's room, bring your eldest apprentice brother along. Lin Feng calmly sent a sound transmission to Zhu Yi and the others next door, then he sat cross-legged and calmly waited for his disciples to arrive. Xiao Budian was the first to push open the door and enter, looking at Lin Feng with a head full of question marks, as well as the outer sky furnace in Lin Feng's room that almost reached the roof. Behind him, Zhu Yi and Wang Lin, one in front and one behind, carried a stretcher into the room. Xiao Yan laid on the stretcher, his face pale, but his mood was still pretty good. Disciple greets master. The four said together. Apart from Xiao Yan, who couldn't move, the other three bowed together. Lin Feng lightly nodded his head, then said, Do you all see the pill furnace in front of you? The four nodded their heads. Zhu Yi asked, Master, this is the pill furnace from before at the market square? Lin Feng smiled slightly. This furnace is called the outer sky furnace. It has endless wonderful uses. Unfortunately, the pearl was covered in dust before. Now master has reactivated it, allowing it to reveal its original appearance. Zhu Yi clicked his tongue in wonder. It really is a magical item. Xiao Budian, who was at the side, asked, Master, did you call us here to see this pill furnace? Lin Feng shook his head, replying, No, the reason I called you guys over is to test you guys. Test us? The four looked at each other, then Xiao Yan, who was on the stretcher, said softly, What is the test? Master, please tell us. Lin Feng pointed at the outer sky furnace, and lightly said, In order to treat Xiao Yan's injury, Master is currently refining a type of pill, but Master deliberately made a few mistakes. If we continue to refine it like this, it is destined to not be able to refine the pill. Master now wants to test you, to see if you have talent in the way of alchemy, and if you can pick out the mistakes that Master deliberately left behind. Lin Feng said seriously, and handed them the recipe of the Thunder Great Rejuvenating Pill, and also seriously explained the function of the outer sky furnace. Am I too shameless? It's just so. Lin Feng thought in his heart, but his face was still sanctimonious, and lightly said, You can discuss among yourselves, Master will listen on the side, and Master will know who comes up with the correct opinion. The four looked at each other, then gathered next to Xiao Yan's stretcher, and discussed with each other. Lin Feng secretly listened to the content of their discussion, and then compared it with his own opinion, and learned quite a lot. It had to be said that the system's judgment was very accurate. Among the four, Xiao Yan was the fastest to learn alchemy, and had the deepest understanding. As for the mistakes in Lin Feng's original alchemy method, Xiao Yan was the fastest to find, and also the most. As for whether or not it was accurate, it still needed to be verified. In the end, the other three people also took the initiative to recommend Xiao Yan to make a concluding speech. The heavenly bone grass cannot be put into the alchemy furnace, it must first be crushed into powder. The cold frost dew and the jade fire phosphorus grass must be mixed together, and then put into the alchemy furnace, and cannot be put into the alchemy furnace separately. Xiao Yan concluded, and finally hesitated for a moment, and then said, In addition, I think we should start the furnace an hour earlier, but I dare not confirm this. Lin Feng's expression was calm, and after listening to Xiao Yan, he raised his head and asked the other three, Do you have anything else to add? The other three people shook their heads, and Lin Feng smiled, You're done, no more changes. Xiao Yan gritted his teeth, No more changes. Lin Feng stood up, and said with a smile, Master will not make any more comments, let the facts speak for themselves. Let's use your method to refine a furnace of alchemy, and see what the final result is. With that, he did as Xiao Yan said, processing the medicinal ingredients, and started the alchemy furnace. Lin Feng controlled the fire, and the four disciples stared closely at the alchemy furnace. Xiao Yan was especially nervous, and his palms were a little sweaty. The four of them did not know that in fact, Lin Feng was even more nervous than them, staring at the alchemy furnace. "Brat, you must do your best." Chapter 82. Inside the furnace, Akalanatha's anger and the furnace's core fire were burning together. Lin Feng carefully controlled the intensity of the fire. When the time came, he used his mana to withdraw Akalanatha's anger. Once Akalanatha's anger disappeared, the furnace's core fire was also extinguished. When the furnace was opened, a sandalwood fragrance wafted out. Golden Buddhist light surged inside the furnace. Silently, there were 8 red pills the size of a longan. Inside the house, the 5 of them sniffed. Just smelling the medicinal fragrance made them feel comfortable all over. Xiao Yan inhaled a mouthful of the fragrance. It was wrapped in his own mana and spiritual energy. His body's injuries felt numb and itchy. His injuries seemed to be gradually healing. Success. Lin Feng was relieved. Thunder Great Return Pill. It can revive the dead and regenerate flesh and bones. It has a miraculous effect in treating physical injuries. It really lives up to its reputation. Xiao Yan took a Thunder Great Return Pill. He used his mana to dissolve it and guided the medicinal power to heal his injuries. Lin Feng saw that Xiao Yan was gradually entering a meditative state. The pill had begun to take effect. He was relieved. He turned to Xiao Budian and asked, "Where is the black iron sword that your senior apprentice brother got?" "Let me see." Xiao Budian held the black iron sword. Lin Feng grabbed the sword hilt. He suddenly felt his hand sink. Lin Feng was secretly surprised. "What material is it made of?" "It's so heavy." What was even more strange was that when the black iron sword was in his hand, Lin Feng's mana became sluggish. Lin Feng was secretly surprised. It really has some skills. He thought for a moment. He separated a strand of his consciousness and tried to explore the black iron sword. What entered his eyes was a dark void. It was quiet, but it made people's heart palpitate. A silent great fear and great shock filled Lin Feng's mind. It was as if he was in the lowest level of hell. Hong. His line of sight was completely filled with a sea of bluish-purple flames. The sudden appearance of the bluish-purple flames was like a tyrant that had been awakened, letting out a terrifying roar. The void was being torn into pieces, and the air seemed to be constantly trembling, emitting crackling sounds of explosions. The purple flames burned fiercely, flashing with an ominous blue light. It contained an incomparably powerful will, a will that mercilessly slaughtered, a will that completely destroyed all life around it. Blue light flickered in the sea of fire, and 4 characters of light appeared and pulsated. Evil Radiant Hegemon Sword. For a moment, Lin Feng even felt that his thoughts had completely stopped. The purple demonic fire roared and surged towards Lin Feng. It was not just this trace of divine sense, but it wanted to destroy and devour Lin Feng's entire body. Lin Feng was shocked. He quickly withdrew his spiritual sense and opened his eyes. The huge black iron sword in his hand looked ordinary. It was as if the terrifying scene before was just an illusion. Bluish-purple flames, evil brilliant overlord sword. Bluish-purple flames. Lin Feng searched in the system for a moment, and then he could not help but gasp. He turned his head to look at Xiao Yan, who was still digesting the power of the thunderous Great Recover pill. This little guy really deserved to be the little cow at the level of Mr. Right. The Netherworld Evil Brilliant was one of the 7 great true fires in the world. The evil brilliant true fire that burned in the Netherworld Purgatory was extremely domineering. The 7 great true fires, in addition to having endless firepower, each had their own magical uses. However, in terms of pure destructive power, the Netherworld Evil Brilliant was known as the king of all fires. Even the other 6 great true fires had to retreat. This was the supreme demonic fire that could destroy heaven and earth. Even the great Tao of heaven and earth feared it and suppressed it at the lowest level of the Netherworld Purgatory. Lin Feng shook his head and smiled bitterly in his heart. Good heavens, this is probably Xiao Yan's destined treasure, right? That's why I said that I also want someone to break off the engagement. After Xiao Yan digested all the power of the pill and woke up from his meditative state, Lin Feng handed the evil brilliant overlord sword to him and told him about the netherworld evil brilliant. Xiao Yan was dumbfounded. Zhu Yi and the other two also opened their mouths wide. They stared blankly at the clumsy and unremarkable black iron sword in Xiao Yan's hand. Ha, we're rich. Xiao Yan, who had reacted, was overjoyed. The excitement in his heart could not be expressed in words. Xiao Budian shouted, eldest senior brother, second senior brother, and I have contributed to buying the pill for the sword flower. We also have a share of the item. Xiao Yan glared at him. I'll return your pill to you tomorrow. Xiao Budian complained discontentedly. Wang Lin's face was full of envy. Zhu Yi's eyes also flickered. Lin Feng looked at the jubilant Xiao Yan from the side, saying in his heart, looks like this kid really is fated with fire. Maybe the Emperor of Fire is his path of destiny? If that's the case, the other 6 types of true fire. Thinking up to here, Lin Feng's heart was also drooling. He hurriedly composed himself and said to Xiao Yan, Little Yan, I've already heard your 2 junior brothers talk about the situation when you activated the power of the sword before. Looking at it now, your own cultivation is still not enough to control this demon sword. Xiao Yan's face turned bitter and he nodded. This was the truth, and he had to admit it. Lin Feng continued, you deserve this. You should continue to carry this sword with you for self-defense. However, don't use it easily unless it's a last resort. After a pause, Lin Feng's expression became solemn. The Nether Evil Emperor is one of the 7 great true fires. It's overbearing and mysterious. It can even be regarded as a life with its own will. Your own cultivation is not enough. If you blindly control the true fire, the final result is not that you control the fire, but that the fire controls you. You will become a fire slave who has lost its own consciousness. You must remember this. Xiao Yan's expression became serious and he said respectfully, I will remember Master's teachings. Lin Feng nodded and observed Xiao Yan's complexion. Although there was still some grayish-white blood loss, his injuries had already healed. As long as he recuperated for a few more days, he would immediately recover to his original state. The Thunder Great Revitalizing Pill's healing effect on physical injuries was indeed worthy of its reputation. Xiao Yan's injuries have recovered. I can also put the side mission on the agenda. I'll earn the reward to exchange for the Dao technique and then complete the main mission. Lin Feng thought. But how could he complete 2 side missions in the stipulated time? Did he have to make a choice? Lin Feng looked at his 4 disciples who were laughing and playing around the evil Emperor Overlord's sword. Suddenly, he had an idea. I remember that there are some instructions in the disciple system. I haven't read them carefully. Lin Feng quickly entered the disciple system. Reading the instructions in the disciple system one by one, Lin Feng smiled when he saw one of them. If the master needs something, the disciple will do it. The host's disciple can replace the host to complete the side mission issued by the system. The mission time and conditions are the same. If the mission is successfully completed, the host will receive the mission reward as usual. Lin Feng took out the flowing wind talisman and said to Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and Tiny with a smile, although you've suffered a little, the 3 of you have performed well this time. You already have the ability to take charge, but you still need to train. Master just happens to have something for you to do. Just treat it as a form of training. Lin Feng handed the flowing wind talisman to Zhu Yi. This flowing wind talisman can allow you to ride the wind. 10,000 kilometers west from here, there is a great Hengduan mountain range. At the eastern foot of the mountain range is a lake called the Sea of Wind and Thunder. This flowing wind talisman also has a thunder origin talisman that is a pair with it. Master has found that the thunder origin talisman is in the Sea of Wind and Thunder in the Great Hengduan mountain range. Lin Feng looked at Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and Tiny with Tiny, the 3 of you will go together to get that thunder origin talisman. On the way, the three of you will look after each other and be vigilant. If you can't find the talisman, don't be discouraged. Pay attention to protect yourselves. Xiao Yan and the other two looked at each other, their eyes revealing an excited expression. Previously when Lin Feng wasn't here, they left Hengyu Mountain without permission to go to Chuzhou City. In the end, they almost suffered a big loss. But youngsters were always full of drive. Suffering a loss once could not erase their courage and drive. Instead, the three of them held back their strength, determined to get things done beautifully this time. Although the journey is long and they don't have the black cloud flag, with the flowing wind talisman as a means of transportation, the journey at least won't be a problem. Lin Feng also gave the storage pouches he got from Hui Kong, Hui Ku, and Elder Vulture to the three of them. With the storage pouch that can open up an independent space, Xiao Yan can carry the evil Radiant Overlord sword easily. If he wants to train himself, he will carry the big sword and hurry on his way. If he doesn't want to carry it, he can just throw it into the storage pouch. Because it is in an independent space, he doesn't feel the slightest bit of its weight, so he doesn't need to bitterly carry it all the time. After sending off Xiao Yan and the other two, Lin Feng turned around and looked at Wang Lin who was beside him. Wang Lin was also looking at his master anxiously. Lin Feng smiled. Wang Lin, you just entered the sect. During this period of time, follow me and learn Dao techniques. Right now, I also want to go to a place. If you follow me, you will also have the opportunity to gain experience. Finished speaking, Lin Feng raised the black cloud flag and swept up Wang Lin and himself, flying towards the great marsh of the ancient domain in the extreme east. Chapter 83. The Great Marsh of the Ancient Domain is located in the southeast of the continent. It was originally a wild land that no one developed. Everything within a radius of 100,000 miles is a swamp country with all kinds of demons and poisonous plants growing everywhere. The sky above the swamp is covered in dense haze and there is not a trace of sunlight all year round. Cultivators from all walks of life would frequently appear in such a place. They were either gathering herbs to refine pills or capturing devils to be controlled and refined. In the eyes of cultivators, the great marsh of the ancient domain was undoubtedly a natural treasure trove bestowed by the heavens. It was truly inexhaustible, and it was even to the extent that those who were lucky might encounter a pleasant surprise. However, the great marsh of the ancient domain is just too big, so many people are like a drop in the ocean. It is rare for them to meet face to face and they are often able to live in harmony. Miasma lingers in the great marsh and does not disperse all year round. It has already occupied the place for over 10,000 years, seriously disturbing the flow of spiritual energy here. It is 100 times more complicated than the Black Cloud underground palace that suppresses the Nether Blood River. Not to mention Foundation Establishment Stage and Golden Elixir period cultivators, even if a Yuanying stage old monster comes in, it would be very difficult to discover his whereabouts. It is precisely because of this that Lin Feng dares to swagger into the Great Marsh. After all, strictly speaking, the Great Marsh of the ancient domain belongs to the Great Zhou dynasty. The Marquis of Xuanji can practically be considered half a home in the Great Zhou dynasty. Lin Feng just got rid of the second steward of the Marquis of Xuanji's family and then charged into their backyard. If it wasn't for the special terrain of the Great Marsh of the ancient domain, he would just be waiting to be hunted down. But this kind of complicated terrain undoubtedly greatly increased the difficulty for Lin Feng to find the galaxy sand. Searching blindly is no different than fishing for a needle in the ocean. The system only mentioned that the Great Marsh of the ancient domain produces galaxy sand, but it doesn't have a specific location. How should I find it? Lin Feng controlled the black cloud flag to descend from the sky. In front of him is a swamp quagmire. Some of them are constantly emitting bubbles, some of them look normal but are actually even more dangerous. If a person who doesn't know stepped in, they would no longer be able to think of coming back up. Lin Feng carefully distinguished and landed on a relatively dry piece of land. Looking at the 10,000-mile swamp country in front of him, he couldn't help but be a bit worried. Wang Lin also had a bitter expression as he asked, "Master, how should we find galaxy sand?" I want to know too. Lin Feng smiled bitterly in his heart, but he did not show it on his face. He said calmly, finding the galaxy sand is just a small matter. The more important thing for this trip is to temper you. Lin Feng turned to look at Wang Lin and slowly said, you should know that your aptitude isn't outstanding. Wang Lin lowered his head. Master's words could be considered as caring for his pride. He himself knew that his innate talent was not only not outstanding, it was simply terrible, even worse than the average person. Thus, since he'd entered the sect, Wang Lin had been painstakingly cultivating, and with the assistance of the underworld pearl, he could be considered to have achieved some results. However, when compared to the speed at which Xiao Yan and the other two were improving every single day, his improvement was simply small to the point of being negligible. Being in the same sect as these three monstrous geniuses, the pressure on Wang Lin was even greater than when he was in the Hangyu sect. Even though his willpower was incomparably firm, his confidence was still greatly affected, and he could only work even harder. Lin Feng said, it is precisely because of this that Master wants you to undergo more tempering, more tempering. You have very good potential, you are a good piece of jade, but you need more tempering than the average person to make you shine with astonishing brilliance. Perhaps this tempering will make you feel very bitter. Lin Feng said word by word, Master believes that you will succeed in the end. Wang Lin's heart warmed, and he nodded, disciple will definitely work hard and not disappoint Master's expectations. Lin Feng nodded in satisfaction and pointed at the boundless swamp in front of them, this ancient region's great swamp will be your first training ground. Although it is difficult to find the galaxy sand here, you must remember that the galaxy sand is only a secondary goal. The key is that you must learn from it and obtain tempering. Your other three senior and junior martial brothers have entered the sect for a long time and have the ability to protect themselves, so Master let them go out to train. However, your current strength is still insufficient, so Master will follow you this time to protect you. Lin Feng continued, tempering is not throwing away your life. If there is really any danger, Master will naturally lend a hand. However, as for other matters, including finding the galaxy sand, you must solve them yourself. Only then will you be able to exercise. Is that clear? Wang Lin bowed and said, disciple understands, Master, please rest assured. After successfully tricking Wang Lin, Lin Feng's face revealed a satisfied smile. Although Wang Lin had not matured yet, and the search for the galaxy sand in this boundless swamp still depended on Lin Feng. However, Wang Lin's good fortune of reaching 8 would be of great help. At the very least, he wouldn't return empty-handed, right? Not to mention, those words just now were not said for nothing. Compared to the other three, Wang Lin is limited by the fact that he only has an innate bone of 5, the beginning of his training will be extremely difficult. Even though he has the support of a mental strength of 10, Lin Feng as his master also has to frequently encourage him. This would help to deepen the relationship between master and disciple, and at the same time, create a glorious image of himself in his disciple's heart. Therefore, the search mode changed into Wang Lin, who was carefully exploring the path step by step, and Lin Feng, who was pretending to be profound, followed behind him. However, Lin Feng was not completely idle. Although the spiritual energy in the great swamp was chaotic, he could still barely perceive it at a close distance. This mana fluctuation, is it a foundation establishment stage cultivator? While walking, Lin Feng suddenly felt a strong mana fluctuation, it was near him. After seeing the old monsters of the Yuanying stage and the cultivators of the Golden Elixir period, the Foundation Establishment cultivators could no longer attract Lin Feng's attention. Although compared to them, Lin Feng, who was only at the peak of the Qi refining stage, still had a big gap in magic power, it was like the difference between a river and the ocean. However, with Lin Feng's current strength, the majority of the Foundation Establishment cultivators were really not in his eyes, unless the other party also had a powerful magic tool or a trump card. Apart from the Foundation Establishment cultivator, there are also a few Qi refining stage cultivators. Silently sensing for a moment, Lin Feng had an idea in his heart. He secretly transmitted his voice to Wang Lin, little Lin, go forward a few hundred meters, and you will encounter a foundation establishment cultivator and a few Qi refining stage cultivators. Master will not show himself. If there is anything, you can deal with it yourself. Interacting with people is also a kind of training. Wang Lin heard this and nodded. Lin Feng slowed down, getting farther and farther away from Wang Lin. The miasma in the great swamp was thick, it seriously affected vision. Lin Feng did not use his magic power, and with the system's concealment, no one could find his traces if he was far away. The two sides were already very close, the thick mist dispersed, revealing 4 figures. The first to attract Lin Feng's attention was definitely a middle-aged man in a hemp robe, because he was the foundation establishment cultivator Lin Feng sensed before. This person was thin and tall, it was like a bamboo pole holding up the hemp robe on his body. There were also 2 young men in tight clothes, both of them were at the Qi refining stage. The 2 of them, together with the middle-aged man in the hemp robe, surrounded a young man in fine clothes. Even though the well-dressed youth is only at the Qi disciple stage, he is clearly the leader of the group. Looking at his expression and attitude, Lin Feng knows that this kid is the legendary second generation X. That middle-aged man in the hemp robe should have been sent by his family to protect him. The young man had a gloomy expression. If I knew the great swamp was so boring, I wouldn't have come in. A follower behind him said with a fawning smile, "Young noble, the main reason we came here this time is to earn merits." The young man said impatiently, "I know, do I need you to tell me that? 3,000 elites from the Xinwu army are here to capture the rebels. With so many people sharing the rewards, how many rebels can I get? 3,000 soldiers to capture a rebel?" Lin Feng, who was hiding in the distance, heard their conversation and thought, looks like someone rebelled against the great Zhou dynasty and escaped into the great swamp, trying to use the natural barrier of the great swamp to hide from the pursuers. The middle-aged man's skinny face revealed a faint smile. "Young noble Shui, although many people came this time, the great swamp's terrain is naturally limited. Only a few people can obtain anything." Shui Chao still maintained a certain level of respect towards the middle-aged man and nodded. "Mr. Ma is right." Mr. Ma continued, "Moreover, their families have retreated into the great lake of ancient domain along with the traders. It's very easy to capture these people. It's practically a free contribution." Shui Chao became spirited. "That's right." They had been using telepathy, but they didn't know that Lin Feng could clearly hear them. Now that the conversation was over, the 4 of them looked at Wang Lin with interest. Wang Lin cupped his fists. "I'm Wang Lin, greetings seniors. Only the second stage of Qi refinement." Shui Chao rolled his eyes and turned around without looking at Wang Lin. The skinny Mr. Ma didn't have any interest in talking either. A youth behind Shui Chao said with a smile, "You're quite bold to enter the great swamp with only the second stage of Qi refinement." Wang Lin answered in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "I came here to train under my master's order to find something called galaxy sand. I wonder if seniors have heard of it. I'll be very grateful if you can tell me." As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Lin was shocked to see the 4 people's expressions change and staring at him. The youth who had asked the question earlier asked, "Are you looking for the galaxy sand?" Lin Feng, who was in the dark, frowned slightly. Wang Lin also felt that something was wrong, carefully answering, "That's right." The finely dressed youth, Shui Chao, waved his hand. "Take this person down first." Chapter 84. You're looking for galaxy sand? Yes. Hearing Wang Lin's answer, Shui Chao didn't say anything else and waved his hand. "Capture this kid first." Wang Lin's heart sank. He didn't expect that after just a few words, the other party would act against him. Could it be that these people are also looking for galaxy sand? Wang Lin couldn't figure it out, but he didn't have much time to think about it. A young man in a tight suit behind Shui Chao was already walking towards him. The other party didn't hide his magic power fluctuations. Even Wang Lin could judge that this was an enemy he couldn't deal with. Qi Disciple Level 8. Wang Lin was at Qi Disciple Level 2. Even 10 of him together couldn't defeat a Qi disciple level 8 cultivator. The difference in cultivation between the two sides was too big. Seeing that Lin Feng didn't move, Wang Lin thought, does master want to test me? Wang Lin calmed down and calmly looked at the young man in a tight suit walking over. The other party obviously didn't think that a little cultivator at Qi disciple level 2 could pose any threat to him. This person's attitude aroused Wang Lin's fighting spirit. Whether I can beat him or not is one thing, whether I have the courage to fight is another. Thinking of this, Wang Lin calmed down and silently watched the opponent approach. The young man in a tight suit saw that Wang Lin was scared silly and didn't move. He couldn't help but laugh. If you're smart, you don't have to suffer. After saying that, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the air. His magic power turned into an invisible big hand and shrouded Wang Lin. Suddenly, the air around Wang Lin's body seemed to solidify and press down on Wang Lin, making it difficult for him to breathe. However, Wang Lin wasn't surprised. Instead, he was happy because he could see that the opponent didn't take him seriously at all. This grab didn't even use any magic. It was purely using his own magic power to grab Wang Lin. The movement was so casual, leaving his body wide open and full of flaws. Not only did this person think that Wang Lin posed no threat to him, but he also didn't think that Wang Lin had the guts to resist. Wang Lin secretly took a deep breath, but he still did not act rashly. Silently, he waited for the invisible giant hand formed from the opponent's transcendence energy to reach him. The well-dressed young man became more relaxed. Well, let alone the fact that we have Mr. Ma who is in the laying foundation stage to hold the line, even if we don't, a little guy who is only in the second level of Lianqi realm can only be captured obediently. Who would have thought that at the moment when he was at his most relaxed state of mind, Wang Lin would suddenly move? Just as the hand made of magic power was about to grab him, Wang Lin suddenly took a step forward and stretched out both of his hands. Wang Lin pinched a spell with his left hand and pointed his right index finger at the young man in front of him. The well-dressed young man was stunned. He saw a very fine black gas shoot out from Wang Lin's right index finger. It turned into a fine line and shot towards him. This black line was like a knife cutting tofu. It easily pierced through the invisible giant hand formed by the young man's transcendence energy. The condensed transcendence energy did not cause any hindrance to the black line. It just let the black line pass through without any resistance. Just when the well-dressed young man was slightly stunned, the black line had already shot in front of him. Lin Feng, who was at the back, saw this scene and suddenly laughed silently. He deliberately did not show up because he really wanted to observe the specific performance of Wang Lin when he was in trouble. The result made Lin Feng very satisfied. The opponent suddenly turned hostile. Although Wang Lin was surprised, he did not panic. Facing an opponent who was much stronger than him, he calmly seized the opportunity and suddenly made a move when the enemy was at the most careless. It was a magical power derived from the Netherworld Nirvana technique, the Netherworld Finger. After Lin Feng taught it to him, Wang Lin had obviously practiced it with all his heart. When he pointed his finger, the transcendence energy combined with the breath of the Netherworld real water condensed into a fine line. It was almost invincible. Although the opponent's transcendence energy cultivation was much higher than Wang Lin's, the Netherworld real water breath's special effect of purifying the transcendence energy of others was exerted and directly pierced through the opponent's transcendence energy giant hand. Looking at the shocked face of the well-dressed young man, Wang Lin suddenly trembled. Although he appeared calm, this was after all the first time he fought with someone. Thinking of the consequences of killing this person, Wang Lin could not help but hesitate. With such a slight hesitation, the black line formed by the transcendence energy of the Netherworld Finger suddenly trembled and became not so stable. Lin Feng frowned and felt that it was not good. In the opponent's camp, Mr. Ma's eyebrows trembled and he felt relieved. Sure enough, the black line trembled a little and slowed down a bit. The well-dressed young man had already reacted and dangerously tilted his head to avoid the Netherworld Finger of Wang Lin. Xue Chao and his other follower were stunned and showed an expression of interest. Obviously, they did not expect that the well-dressed young man would almost fail miserably. Mr. Ma's eyes fell on Wang Lin. After all, he was a cultivator in the foundation building realm, so he was far more sensitive to the fluctuation of transcendence energy than cultivators in the training chi realm. Although he did not think that Wang Lin would have the guts to resist at first, he immediately noticed it as soon as Wang Lin made a move. Mr. Ma did not expect that the netherworld finger of Wang Lin could be so overbearing. No matter how careless the well-dressed young man was, he was, after all, at the 8th level of the training chi realm, which was much higher than Wang Lin. He did not expect that his defense would be directly broken by Wang Lin. The gap between their realms was really too big. Besides the well-dressed young man's great surprise, Wang Lin's subtle and overbearing magic was also an important reason to make up for this. Mr. Ma began to be interested in Wang Lin. Lin Feng sighed and said in his heart, although he is destined to grow up to be the one who kills decisively, it is the first time for him to fight with a human. He cannot be as cold-blooded as a robot. Although he had dodged Wang Lin's netherworld finger, the well-dressed young man also felt ashamed. His whole face suddenly turned red and he stared at Wang Lin fiercely. He was really irritated by Wang Lin. The well-dressed young man suddenly put his palms together, and the mist in the air quickly gathered toward him and turned into a ferocious water dragon in front of his chest. Then, the dragon rushed toward Wang Lin with its fangs and claws. At this moment, Wang Lin was also regretting in his heart. He hesitated for a moment, but the snake did not die. Now, the poisonous snake was going to bite back. Be merciless when you fight, and be merciful when you don't fight. If I fight with someone again, I must do my best and never give the opponent a chance to fight back. With a gloomy face, Wang Lin had made up his mind. Facing the opponent's fierce spell, Wang Lin was not afraid at all. His hands formed a seal and his mind communicated with the netherworld pearl. Even if Lin Feng had all the treasures in his hands, none of them could be a match for the netherworld pearl. Among the treasures that he had come into contact with, perhaps only the evil Radiant Overlord's sword could fight with it. However, it was greatly damaged, and a lot of its power could not be exerted. With Wang Lin's current cultivation, he could not exert 1/10 of the netherworld pearl's power. However, he had sacrificed this treasure and cultivated the netherworld nirvana technique, so he could barely drive the netherworld pearl. Coincidentally, the opponent used a water spell. The netherworld true water was one of the 6 great true waters of the supreme water of water. It seemed to be angered by the water dragon that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws in front of it. Following Wang Lin's thought, the netherworld pearl slowly flew up and emitted a circle of dim yellow light in the air. As soon as the water dragon came into contact with the yellow light, it immediately collapsed. The well-dressed young man was dumbfounded. Xue Chao was also stunned. When he looked at the netherworld pearl again, his eyes suddenly revealed a greedy desire. Chapter 85. As soon as the underworld pearl appeared, it immediately broke the opponent's water spell. Xue Chao's brows furrowed and then relaxed. Greed appeared in his eyes. Mr. Ma, I want this treasure. Please help me, and I'll reward you generously afterward. Mr. Ma, who was as thin as a bamboo pole, looked at Wang Lin and then at the underworld pearl. I don't want to bully the weak. Young Master Xue, you can take down this brat by yourself. I'll help you fight against his treasure. Young Master, you can show off your skills. Hearing Mr. Ma's words, Xue Chao laughed. With your words, I'm relieved. After saying that, Xue Chao suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a cloud of white smoke. Go! The white smoke drifted and flew toward Wang Lin. It looked slow, but in fact, it had already arrived in front of Wang Lin in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin's face was calm. He used his heart to control the underworld pearl. The pearl shone brightly. As soon as the white smoke came into contact with the dim yellow halo, it stopped and couldn't move forward. At this time, Mr. Ma coughed. Rise! Before his voice died away, countless vines suddenly grew from under Wang Lin's feet and swayed toward Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin was shocked. The underworld pearl's light shone on the dense vines under his feet. Under the light, the vines withered one after another. However, new vines emerged endlessly from the ground. The speed of their growth was faster than the speed of their withering. More and more vines appeared. Seeing that Mr. Ma's spell had restrained the underworld pearl, Xue Chao was satisfied and laughed. Such a treasure is just a waste in your hands. Give it to me. As he spoke, the white smoke rushed toward the underworld pearl again. Wang Lin tightly pursed his lips. His left hand pinched a spell in front of his chest and his right index finger pointed toward the white smoke. A black line shot straight toward Xue Chao's white smoke. Xue Chao sneered. Little bastard, do you really think you can overturn the heavens? After seeing Wang Lin's overbearing underworld finger, Xue Chao was already more careful. He was originally at the 10th level of Qi disciple stage, and this time, he was going all out. Although the transcendence energy of the underworld finger could still purify and dispel the white smoke was extremely condensed. Wang Lin's finger only managed to purify 10 to 20% of the white smoke. Wang Lin's face was slightly pale. To him now, underworld finger consumed a lot of mana. His mana at Qi disciple stage 2 was really not much. Xue Chao laughed heartily and said, "This treasure is this young master's." As he spoke, the white smoke had already swept up the underworld pearl. At that moment, a golden Buddhist light suddenly lit up and protected the underworld pearl. When the white smoke came into contact with the Buddhist light, it couldn't advance even half a step. The Buddhist light transformed into a glittering swastika pattern. As it rotated, it deflected Xue Chao's white smoke to the side. It was no longer a threat to the underworld pearl. In the mist, Lin Feng walked out slowly with a calm expression. He wore a white robe with wide sleeves, a feather robe and a star crown, and he had the demeanor of a sage-like expert. Wang Lin immediately heaved a sigh of relief. "Master." Lin Feng nodded and didn't say anything. At this moment, he was recalling the minor reincarnation technique that he had just cast. Although I have the Divine Ability Analyzer, which allows me to cultivate the technique in a short time, I still need to practice more if I want to use the technique as I wish. It's best if I can fight with someone in actual combat. Just now, I gained a few more insights. While pondering, Lin Feng looked at Xue Chao and the others and thought, I have to ask them clearly why they turned hostile when they heard about the galaxy sand. Perhaps they know the whereabouts of the galaxy sand? As he thought about it, Lin Feng asked, "Do you know the whereabouts of the galaxy sand?" Xue Chao and the others didn't answer. Instead, they all had a strange expression on their faces as they stared at Lin Feng and Wang Lin. Lin Feng was puzzled. Wearing the wrong clothes? That's right, it's the same outfit. On the other side, Xue Chao suddenly burst into laughter, convulsing with laughter. He laughed strangely and said, "You're just a cultivator at the peak of the Qi disciple realm, yet you dare to put on an act in front of me. What a joke." He stared at Lin Feng and snorted coldly. "You have some treasure on you that can conceal your cultivation, right? If you didn't make a move, I wouldn't have been able to see through you. But that technique you used just now completely exposed your true strength." Mr. Ma also laughed and shook his head. "You're dressed like a Taoist, yet you used a Buddhist technique. Since it's so impure, you must be a loose cultivator, right?" The smile on his skinny face gradually disappeared. "A loose cultivator without a sect or sect, and your cultivation is only at the 12th level of the Qi disciple realm. Who gave you the courage to speak like this?" Hearing this, Lin Feng was speechless. Wang Lin, who was next to him, looked at Xue Chao's group of 4 as if they were idiots. The young man who was previously careless and almost defeated by Wang Lin had been glaring at Wang Lin. Now that he saw Wang Lin's expression, he was even angrier. He coldly said, "Ignorant little bastard, is this your master? Are you blind? Do you think a loose cultivator at the 12th level of the Qi disciple realm can protect you? Why don't you take a look at who you've provoked?" Another young man said with a smile, "This is our young master Xue Chao, the legitimate son of the great Zhou dynasty's Shui clan. I wonder if you, a wild Taoist from the mountains, have heard of him. Lin Feng's expression was calm. He chuckled. I've only heard that the great Qin dynasty has 4 great clans. The great Zhou dynasty used to have quite a few cultivation clans, so it could be considered a bit interesting. But in recent years, the imperial power of the great Zhou dynasty has been unprecedentedly centralized, and most of the so-called clans have disappeared. The Shui clan? Haven't heard of them. The new nouveau riche? Shui Chao's expression turned cold. Just because of what you said, don't even think about leaving this place alive. Mr. Ma, who was next to him, looked at Lin Feng and shook his head with pity. You still dare to talk nonsense here? You really don't know the meaning of death. With that, he released all of his magic power without any concealment, completely revealing his foundation-building cultivation. Young Master Shui, I'll say it again. I don't want to bully the weak. A Qi disciple insect isn't worth my time. Mr. Ma faintly smiled. This person is so arrogant, so he might have some tricks up his sleeves. But don't worry, just attack. I'll take care of whatever tricks he has up his sleeves. Shui Chao sneered. So what if he has tricks up his sleeves? The 3,000 experts of the great Zhou dynasty's Xinwu army are all here, and General Xia is nearby. How can we let him do anything? This person's origin is unknown. Although he's pretending to be a Taoist, his spells are of the Buddhist path. It's very likely that he's a remnant of the Thunderclap Temple. Shui Chao coldly said. Capturing a remnant of a traitor like him is also a merit. According to the laws of the great Zhou dynasty, anyone who resists arrest will be killed without mercy. At this point Shui Chao clapped his hands together and a long sword flew out from his back, flowing with light and vibrant colors. Impressively, it is a foundation establishment stage sword, drawing a long rainbow in midair and circling above Lin Feng's head. Shui Chao coldly said, immediately kneel down and surrender. Hand over that pearl and I'll only cripple your cultivation and spare your life. The 2 young men behind him glanced at each other and laughed. This guy still dares to put on airs in front of young master. He really doesn't know the meaning of death. Young master is still too soft-hearted. Such a bold madman can be killed with one sword strike. Even if he has some tricks up his sleeves, how can he beat Mr. Ma, who's at the foundation building level? Mr. Ma can step on him like he's a bug. Without Mr. Ma, he'll still die. Young master still has a trump card that you haven't used yet. Listening to their discussion and looking at the flying sword circling above his head, Lin Feng was momentarily speechless. He dusted his sleeves and looked at the sword circling above his head. I don't want to bully the weak. You're at the Qi refinement stage, so I only used my Qi refinement stage cultivation before. I didn't expect you juniors to look down on me. Lin Feng slightly looked up and his eyes turned cold. Do you know the consequences of using a sword in front of me? Chapter 86. Do you know what will happen to you if you use your sword in front of me? Lin Feng said lightly. Shui Chao was stunned and then burst into laughter. It seems that you have lost your mind. Who do you think you are? Then, he smiled cruelly. It's useless for a waste like you to live in this world. In that case, I'll send you to hell. With that, he controlled the flying sword and chopped it down toward Lin Feng's head. Lin Feng didn't even look at the flying sword above his head. Instead, he looked at Mr. Ma, who was as thin as a bamboo pole, and calmly asked, Foundation Building Realm, are you the highest cultivation here? Mr. Ma frowned slightly. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth after practicing a little wild fox Zen. You still dare to talk nonsense at this time? Lin Feng let out a light laugh. Forget it, I still won't do something like bullying the weak. If you use the power of the golden elixir period, I'll be bullying you. Before his voice died away, a dazzling Buddhist light soared into the sky and directly knocked away Shui Chao's flying sword. Under the dumbfounded gazes of Xue Chao and the others, a golden mist of light enveloped the surrounding swamp within a radius of more than 1,000 feet. The original poisonous mist in the swamp disappeared, and the putrid stench was replaced by the fragrance of sandalwood. In the mist of light, the sound of Buddhist chanting could be heard incessantly. It was the 24 Heaven Arhat formation. Amidst the chanting of Buddha's name, 24 golden arhats strode out of the fog. The 24 30 feet tall arhats formed a forest of giants that surrounded Xue Chao's group of 4 in a circle. Each of the golden arhats revealed the magical power of the foundation building realm. The magical power of 24 arhats combined into one, which was vast and boundless, like the sky and the sea. Being surrounded by such a strong lineup, Xue Chao and the others suddenly felt great pressure. Xue Chao's magic sword of the foundation building realm was imprisoned in the air by the Buddhist light, like a fish in the desert. No matter how it struggled, it couldn't move. How is this possible? Xue Chao and the other two were stunned speechless. Mr. Ma's complexion also turned pale. With great difficulty, he opened his mouth and said, "Fellow Taoist. No, Senior, please retract your divine ability. There might be some misunderstanding." It was a big misunderstanding. None of them had expected that Lin Feng, who seemed to be only at the peak of qi refining, could display such a horrible magical power. Wasn't it a misunderstanding? Lin Feng's voice came out of the golden Buddhist light, extremely ethereal and vast. Misunderstanding? You made things difficult for my disciple and even waved your swords and sabers in front of me. The facts are right there, I did not misunderstand at all. Mr. Ma was on the verge of tears. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Junior is Ma Wu, a disciple of the Evergreen Mountains Jade Radish Monastery. I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai, and have offended you, Senior. My master is Patriarch Flowervine, please forgive me for my earlier offense." Of Ma Wu to his to him to him to Feng as he wanted to Lin Feng. He, Xue Feng of Xue to Xue, he Xue he should he were to he and of. Feng of it. He. Senior, you. He exhausted all of his strength, but he still couldn't summon his flying sword back. Immediately, he became anxious. He took out a talisman from his bosom, and struck it towards the golden light arhat. Ma Wu's face turned green, and he wanted to slap this spoiled brat to death. No matter how many helpers are nearby, they can't beat Lin Feng and will die first. At that time it doesn't matter who comes. The talisman exploded in the Buddhist light, turning into balls of fire and exploding continuously. Even the golden mist of Buddhist light was blown up. Raging flames soared into the sky, and the tyrannical firepower swept over with a momentum that could burn the sky and boil the sea. The golden arhats also retreated one after another. Under the attack of the raging flames, the bodies formed by the light silhouettes became somewhat unstable, as though they would shatter at any time. Ma Wu's eyes suddenly lit up, and he said, "A golden elixir talisman." The talisman Xue Chao threw out was a golden elixir talisman, which was specially refined by a powerful elder in his family for him to protect himself. It was equivalent to the power of a strike from a powerhouse in the golden elixir period, and it was Xue Chao's last trump card. Let's kill our way out. Even if he is a golden elixir yuanying old monster, he will die for sure. Xue Chao's expression was ferocious, and his two followers behind him also echoed his words. Seeing that the golden elixir talisman was clearing the way, Ma Wu's mind was also active. He certainly didn't want to bow and scrape if he could. Ma Wu immediately made an incantation gesture with both hands, opened his mouth, and spat out a plant seed. The seed fell into the air, and under the control of Ma Wu's magic power, it quickly germinated and grew into a seedling. The seedling's leaves were clear and green, and it looked very fresh. Circles of green light appeared around the seedling, and it revealed a terrifying magic power fluctuation. Wherever the green light passed, the golden Buddhist light in the 24 Heaven Arhat formation gradually melted. The Buddhist light formation was already a little unstable after being bombarded by the golden elixir talisman, and now Ma Wu's attack made it even more unstable. Seeing this, Ma Wu couldn't help but smile. Fellow cultivator, if you are willing to leave now, we will not pursue what happened before. What do you think? Xue Chao snorted. In your dreams. I think this Taoist is just a silver spear. He looks good, but he is useless. He is only pretending to be strong because of this formation that he picked up from God knows where. Once this formation is broken, I will teach him a lesson. Ma Wu didn't care. He let Xue Chao play the good cop, and he played the bad cop. Fellow cultivator, if you don't leave now, young Master Xue will not let you go. When that time comes, it will be too late for regrets. In the Buddhist light, Lin Feng chuckled. Who will be too late for regrets? Golden elixir talisman. Hee hee, so what if you have a golden elixir talisman? Lin Feng laughed. I have said that if you use the power of the golden elixir period, it will be considered as me bullying you. After saying that, the situation in the 24 Heaven Arhat formation suddenly changed. Among the 24 golden Arhats, 3 of them suddenly burned with raging flames. The remaining Arhats, 7 in a group, surrounded the 3 flame Arhats, and continuously supplied their pure Buddhist power to the flame Arhats. The 3 flame Arhats chanted the name of Buddha in unison, and the flames rose into the sky, connecting into a boundless sea of fire in the air. There was a rumbling sound in the sea of fire, and the entire Buddha light array shook. Xue Chao and the others who were in the Qi refinement stage didn't feel it, but Ma Wu, who was in the foundation establishment stage, clearly felt that something terrible was about to be born from the sea of fire. In the next moment, a golden Buddha with 4 faces, 8 arms, and a furious expression slowly rose from the sea of fire. The Buddha had a vertical eye on his forehead. Milky white Akalanatha's wrath shot out from the vertical eye between its eyebrows and fell into the raging fire caused by the golden elixir talisman. Boom! Although they were both flames, the raging fire created by Xue Chao's talisman seemed to have become the fuel of the wrath of Akalanatha. In just a short moment, the red flames were all extinguished, turning into a boundless white sea of fire. The wrath of Akalanatha was so overbearing that even other flames would be burned to ashes by it. Ma Wu watched in despair as the little sapling he had summoned was surrounded by the white sea of fire. He couldn't take it back even if he wanted to, and it was instantly burned to ashes. No! With his natal Dharma artifact destroyed, Ma Wu spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground. In the next moment, he was surrounded by the sea of fire, screaming and turning into a flaming man. Xue Chao and the others didn't even have the chance to struggle before they were swallowed by the sea of fire. Why did I provoke such a malefic star? This was the last thought in all of their minds. It was too late for regrets. Wang Lin looked at the scene in front of him, and his eyes were full of vigor. Lin Feng suddenly came to his senses and said, I don't dare to burn them all. I still want to ask them about the galaxy sand. Thinking of this, he quickly withdrew the wrath of Akalanatha and transferred his magic power to the netherworld nirvana art. Among the 4 of them, only Ma Wu, who had the highest cultivation level, was lucky enough to survive, but his body was also burned to ashes, leaving only a remnant of his soul. Before he could rejoice that the fire was finally extinguished, his soul was captured by a magic power. Ma Wu was instantly scared out of his wits. Lin Feng looked at him with a smile and used the netherworld puppet technique. Chapter 87. In the space inside the underworld pearl, Ma Wu's soul has already completely turned into a translucent dusky yellow, struggling in pain in the surging underworld true water. My master won't let you go. Ma Wu roared with hatred. Lin Feng chuckled. I know, your Yuanying stage master carved a talisman in your soul. As soon as you die and your soul scatters he will immediately know, but I won't kill you right now. I wonder if he can know what you're going through right now. Ma Wu closed his eyes in despair. He never would have thought that he didn't die, but his situation was 10,000 times worse than death. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Now tell me, why did you guys immediately turn hostile and attack when my disciple asked you about the galaxy sand? Ma Wu swore to the gods that he absolutely didn't want to answer Lin Feng's question, or even answer a wrong answer. However, the netherworld puppet's magical restriction made him answer every question and speak the truth. The Society of the Strong Gale. Lin Feng was indeed a bit surprised. He didn't think the galaxy sand would have a connection with the Society of the Strong Gale. The Society of the Strong Gale is an anti-Zhou organization formed by the remnants of Snowgale country that was destroyed by the Great Zhou dynasty. Among the many forces resisting the rule of the Great Zhou, they were quite active. Half a year ago, in order to take Zhu Yi as his disciple, Lin Feng traveled far away to the capital of the Great Zhou. There he once came into contact with the people of the Society of the Strong Gale. At that time, in order to harm the Marquis of Xuanji, they kidnapped the bastard son of the Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Yi. This time the Great Zhou dynasty sent an army into the Great Lake of the ancient domain to hunt down a group of cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale. They once discovered galaxy sand on the bodies of the cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale, so as soon as Xue Chao and the others heard Wang Lin mention galaxy sand, they wanted to capture him first without saying anything. Lin Feng inwardly frowned. In the end, I still don't know the exact whereabouts of the galaxy sand. In the vast Great Lake, where am I supposed to find those members of the Society of the Strong Gale? After handing the underworld pearl back to Wang Lin, Lin Feng casually said, "It's best to have a specific target when practicing spells. You can use this kid to practice the underworld finger. But remember, don't kill him. I still have a use for him." Wang Lin nodded, and Ma Wu howled, "I won't forgive you even if I become a ghost." Lin Feng couldn't be bothered with him. He waved the black cloud flag and left with Wang Lin. Since the opponent mentioned that the Great Zhou dynasty's army was nearby, the battle just now must have alerted them. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to stay where he was and wait for the enemy's army to arrive. Although the Great Swamp was filled with miasma, Lin Feng still tried his best to expand the range of his perception. He wants to find the members of the Society of the Strong Gale. The other side won't easily reveal their whereabouts. Only when they are caught up by the Great Zhou dynasty's pursuers and a battle ensues will Lin Feng be able to find out where they are. Lin Feng's wandering lasted for nearly half a month. While searching for the members of the Society of the Strong Gale, Lin Feng himself also didn't give up on searching for the galaxy sand, but he still found nothing. On this day, Lin Feng drove the black cloud flag to fly in the thick miasma. Suddenly he felt a violent wave of mana not far from him. The momentum was enormous. Clearly there were people fighting. Lin Feng hurriedly put away the black cloud flag and landed on the ground, stealthily approaching. As he got closer, light and shadows flickered in the thick mist. A dozen or so figures intertwined together, rising and falling, fighting fiercely. Lin Feng used the stealth technique to hide his body, and also had the system to conceal the mana wave. He quietly approached. Both sides didn't notice that someone had come up to them. The number of people on both sides was not equal. The side with more people had a dozen or so people, surrounding and attacking three opponents together. These dozen or so people were all wearing radiant divine armors. A faint light was emitting from the thick mist, completely isolating the miasma. Even though the cultivation of these people wasn't very high, but they advanced and retreated with great teamwork, displaying strength that surpassed their level. They held the same lightning-long blades in their hands. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled as they swung, displaying astonishing destructive power. The dozen or so people faintly formed a formation, looking out for each other. Their mana also had a tendency to resonate and unite. Combined with their armors and long blades, their battle strength multiplied. This is the Great Zhou dynasty's divine martial army. Lin Feng looked at these dozen or so people, his eyes narrowing. The Divine Martial Army is the elite force of the Great Zhou dynasty. Different from normal secular armies, this Divine Martial Army is said to be completely composed of cultivators. The rebels they want to capture must also be cultivators. Different from the Great Qin dynasty where the four great families control enormous resources and speaking power, the Great Zhou dynasty under the cooperation of the Emperor of Zhou Liangpan and the Marquis of Xuanji Zhu Honggu, the monarch and minister, the imperial power was unprecedentedly concentrated in the Great Zhou dynasty. It had a bit of the atmosphere of an ancient saint emperor. Most of the cultivators were also concentrated under the control of the imperial power. The rumored divine martial army is an army formed from the elite cultivators of all realms within the Great Zhou dynasty. To be able to militarize the cultivators who advocate freedom, on one hand it's because the Emperor of Zhou and the Marquis of Xuanji have powerful methods, on the other hand it's because the imperial family can provide large amounts of cultivation resources for these cultivators, so the cultivators that come from the divine martial army are all extremely powerful and their realms also rise very quickly. The refining level of the Great Zhou dynasty has made great progress in the recent years. Batch after batch of powerful magic artifacts were refined and then given to the divine martial army cultivators, arming them to the teeth. Normally speaking, the difference in cultivation is a large realm, for example a Qi disciple stage cultivator against a foundation establishment stage cultivator. Unless the Qi disciple stage cultivator has a powerful magic artifact or spell to suppress the formation, otherwise it would be very difficult to pose a threat to the foundation establishment stage cultivator. Quantity cannot make up for quality. But the divine martial army, the tacit cooperation, strict discipline, plus powerful equipment, all of this has changed. A foundation establishment stage cultivator alone being surrounded by a group of Qi disciple stage cultivators from the divine martial army is very likely to be surrounded and killed on the spot. Lin Feng carefully observed the three people surrounded by this group of divine martial army cultivators. Right now they are in dire straits, surrounded by danger. The three of them were actually not weak. Of the two of them, one was at Qi disciple level 11 and had a flying sword spinning in the air. His swordsmanship was quite good, and the other was a cultivator at Qi disciple level 12. But under the siege of a group of the divine martial army cultivators with the highest cultivation level only at Qi disciple level 10, they are slowly losing ground. If it wasn't for the third comrade helping out from time to time, these two would have already been surrounded and killed. More than half of Lin Feng's attention is on the third person, it's just that this person's entire body is covered in raging flames, he can't see her appearance clearly. Lin Feng only knows that this person is a woman who seems to be surrounded by flames, a woman whose body is like a flame. She has a crimson outfit, red riding boots, a red cloak, red hair like a burning flame, and a pair of dancing flames in her eyes. Should only be at the early stage of foundation establishment, but her combat strength is quite strong. Lin Feng evaluated the opponent's strength and found that this woman in red is not to be trifled with. However, although she is fierce, she doesn't dare to fight with all her strength. Instead, she has some misgivings. This is because there is a middle-aged man standing outside the circle of battle. He is wearing the abstruse beast black light armor that only a lieutenant of the divine martial army can wear. The armor flashed with a dark light, and the beast head on the chest looked ferocious. This middle-aged officer has a majestic aura and vast magic power. He is clearly a foundation establishment cultivator not weaker than the woman in red. Seeing her comrade in danger, the woman in red snorted and raised her arms, raising a black halberd. The halberd flashed with a black light and fused with the flames around the woman, turning into a red and black storm that swept in all directions. A group of divine martial army cultivators stood shoulder to shoulder with a serious expression. More than 10 snow-white lightning sabers slashed out at the same time. More than 10 rolling lightning arcs joined together and turned into a gigantic saber ray that collided with the red and black storm. The faces of the divine martial army cultivators were pale. Even so, their legs were firmly nailed to the ground and they were forced to slide back, leaving behind dozens of deep grooves on the ground. The woman in red frowned. The enemy commander hasn't even made a move yet. Just a group of Qi condensation cultivators can take her attack head-on. This made her unable to relax no matter what. At this time, the lieutenant suddenly spoke with a thunderous voice, "Yu Hongyan, put down your weapon and surrender. This is your only way to live." The flames around him gradually calmed down. Lin Feng finally saw the true appearance of the woman in red, Yu Hongyan. She was unexpectedly young, only around 15 or 16 years old. Her fiery red hair was unbound and fluttered in the wind like a burning flame. Her red eyebrows were like two thin swords without any gentleness. Instead, she had the heroic spirit of a man with a thick murderous intent. Her jade-like face was flawless. Her nose was much taller than other women, showing her strong will. Her lips that should have been red had only a hint of blood. Yu Hongyan smiled proudly when she heard the middle-aged captain's words, and her red lips parted slightly. Bah! Chapter 88. Yu Hongyan, put down your weapon and surrender, this is your only way to live. Hearing this, Yu Hongyan smirked, the dark halberd swept horizontally and a red and black storm directly attacked the middle-aged officer. The Xinwu military officer's face darkened, he didn't dodge or resist, he just channeled his mana and poured it into the dark beast armor on his body. The eyes of the ferocious beast head on his chest shone with a black light, as if it had come to life, it let out a low roar. A huge phantom suddenly appeared in front of the Xinwu military officer, that was a berserk beast, roaring angrily and colliding with the storm that Yu Hongyan sent out. The phantom of the beast shattered with a bang, but the red and black storm also dissipated. The Xinwu military officer said sternly, anyone who rebels against the association of the strong gale and resists arrest will be killed on the spot. Yu Hongyan glared with his almond eyes, I'll kill you first. With a forceful stomp, the ground cracked inch by inch, he already charged in front of the Xinwu military officer like lightning, the dark halberd swept up a sky full of flames, stabbing straight at the other's chest. The pupils of Lin Feng who was hiding on the side and watching the battle abruptly contracted, his gaze fixed on the dark halberd in Yu Hongyan's hand. The flames and the hurricane gathered together, forming a huge flaming storm that wrapped around the halberd and spun, finally gathering at the tip of the halberd. The storm seemed to sweep away everything in the surrounding space, finally gathering at the tip. Everything finally gathered at this point. A point that can pierce through all things. The Xinwu military officer's expression slightly changed, his body flew backwards, but as soon as he moved, he suddenly felt a huge suction coming from the tip of Yu Hongyan's halberd. The core of the flaming storm, it was as if his entire body was going to be sucked into that point. God-destroying spear. The Xinwu military officer's expression suddenly changed, he took out a jade scroll from his storage bag and crushed it as fast as he could. The jade scroll shattered, turning into one barrier after another, blocking between him and Yu Hongyan. While obstructing Yu Hongyan, the divine martial lieutenant did not take the opportunity to retreat or escape. Instead, he launched a fierce counterattack. With a loud shout, he conjured a dermic art with both of his hands. The dermic power in his body exploded, but it did not attack Yu Hongyan. Instead, it surged into the ground beneath his feet. Lin Feng looked at this scene, a bad premonition rising in his heart. Then, the Xinwu army cultivators who had retreated neatly sheathed their weapons and formed the same hand seal as their superiors. Everyone's magic power surged into the ground. Boom 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 boom. In an instant, the ground beneath Yu Hongyan's feet cracked and exploded. Like an earthquake, violent lightning bolts soared into the sky. Earth core thunder quake. Yu Hongyan's eyes narrowed. At this moment, he finally understood why the leader of the Xinwu colonels did not make a move. It turned out that they were preparing such a terrifying Dharma spell. In front of him were layers of barriers created by the other party after he crushed the jade scroll. Under his feet was the exploding ground and violent lightning bolts. Deep in the ambush, Yu Hongyan instantly fell into a fatal situation. Her choice was to shout, "Kill!" Ignoring the exploding ground beneath his feet, Yu Hongyan's halberd exploded with a monstrous flame. His speed increased once again. No dodging, no retreating, no giving way. He just kept moving forward. If there's an obstruction, break it. If there's an ambush, break it. No matter how many layers of defense the enemy in front of her had, no matter how the lightning bolts under her feet kept exploding, Yu Hongyan's halberd did not waver at all. The Shinwoo colonel's expression changed. He did not expect this delicate-looking girl to be so ferocious. Caught off guard, he was stabbed by Yu Hongyan's halberd. His entire body was blown away by the violent flame storm. The Xian beast armor on his body was burnt to nothing. Retreat! The Shinwoo colonel groaned. If not for the protection of his armor, he would have been stabbed to death by Yu Hongyan's halberd. At this moment, he did not dare to hesitate. Under the protection of his subordinates, he quickly retreated. Yu Hongyan did not give chase. Her entire body was covered in red flames as she resisted the opponent's ferocious attacks. Her cherry lips were no longer red. Her jade-like cheeks were so pale that they were almost transparent. Fresh blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Lin Feng, who had witnessed the entire battle, let out a long sigh. He stared at Yu Hongyan. Other than the girl being ferocious, he could not make any other comment. This girl, she was just like the godly destruction spear that she used. Wherever the spear pointed, there was no chance of survival. She was invincible and killed everyone. Although she had repelled the enemy, Yu Hongyan did not have the strength to fight anymore. It was truly a Pyrrhic victory. Her two companions hurriedly came over to support her. Yu Hongyan regulated her breathing for a while, then said, "Let's go quickly, Dog Zhou's troops will arrive soon." The three hurriedly escaped into the thick miasma mist of the great marsh. They did not notice that a moment later, a person walked out of the thick mist and followed closely behind them. This person is the Shinwoo Corps colonel who was defeated by Yu Hongyan just now. His dark beast light armor had been destroyed, and all that was left of his body was a white robe. His face was pale, and it was obvious that he was seriously injured. However, his expression was extremely calm, and he carefully followed behind Yu Hongyan and the others. Not long after his figure also disappeared, Lin Feng's figure slowly walked out of the thick mist. His expression was uncertain. This person is very scheming. He actually took the risk to feign defeat in order to find the location of the Society of the Strong Gale's base in the Great Marsh of the ancient region. If there was a slight mishap just now, he would have really died under Yen Hongyan's spear. I wonder if that Yu Hongyan trio can lead me to the location of the Galaxy Sand. In the Great Marsh 100 miles away from Lin Feng and the others, a huge military camp was built on the boundless marsh. In the military camp, numerous armor-clad truth cultivators continuously moved between the tents. The ones with low cultivation level are only at the 3rd or 4th level of Qi disciple, the ones with high cultivation level are at the middle or late stage of foundation establishment. These truth cultivators, no matter how high or low their cultivation level, all have a common characteristic, which is that they all have a soldier-like aura of iron and blood. It doesn't seem to match their identity as truth cultivators, but it has a strange sense of harmony. In the center of the military camp, there is a huge tent erected. Within the tent, the cries of women and children can be heard continuously. A man is lying on the ground facing the sky, his eyes looking at the top of the tent. The anger, hatred, and fear in his eyes have already gradually disappeared, becoming lifeless. The wound on his neck, fresh blood is gurgling out and even emitting traces of heat. The young wife cried bitterly, tightly hugging her son and covering his eyes with her palms. She doesn't dare to let her son see the tragic sight of his father being killed. However, the little boy seems to have sensed something and kept struggling and crying, tears flowing out from between his mother's fingers. In front of them, a majestic man in heavy armor is leaning against the back of a chair, slowly wiping the blood dripping from his sword. His name is Evil, the commander of this Shinwoo army. His surname is Evil, and his given name is Evil. His full name is only one word, Evil. His subordinates all call him General Evil. Looking at the crying mother and son, Evil lightly flicked the tip of his sword and said, "He doesn't want to praise me, what about you?" The young woman tightly hugged the little boy and deeply lowered her head. She doesn't dare to look up, afraid that this murderous demon will see the hatred in her eyes. She isn't afraid of death, but she is afraid that her son will be hurt. Evil lightly waved his sword. "Now, praise me." The young woman's body trembled and she silently sobbed without saying a word. Suddenly, her arms are empty. In a panic, she looked up and saw a scene that scared her soul out of her body. Her son has fallen into evil's hands. The little boy is scared out of his wits. Evil indifferently glanced at the young woman. "Praise me or he will die." The young woman's body stiffens. This is the demon in front of her who brought an army to kill her compatriots in Snowgale. He even killed her husband in front of her, and now she has to praise him. How can she do that? But if she doesn't, her son, the little boy stared blankly at his father's corpse on the ground. Finally, he reacted and wailed loudly, waving his hands and struggling. Evil didn't even look at him and only stared at the young woman. He put his sword on the little boy's neck and calmly said, "Praise me." The sword's cold energy surged and a bloody mark appeared on the little boy's neck. The young woman shuddered and didn't dare to hesitate any longer. She said with difficulty, "General, you're wise, mighty, and powerful. Please spare my son." As soon as she said that, the young woman's psychological defenses completely collapsed, and words of flattery and flattery came out one after another. But her expression was wooden, and her lips moved like a machine. She was like a walking corpse. She just looked at her son with tears in her eyes. Evil closed his eyes and raised his head, as if he was enjoying it. He said, "Go on, don't stop. If you stop, I will kill him." The young woman kept on praising him, but there were times when she ran out of words, so she just kept repeating herself. The long sword on her son's neck brought her a lot of pressure. In the end, her mind went from numb to completely collapsing. She could not speak properly anymore, and she could only look at Evil with a pleading look. Evil frowned and said, "Is there no more?" He calmly looked at the little boy, who had cried until his voice became hoarse. He said, "I hate you kids the most. You make me feel annoyed, and you don't know how to praise me. What's the point of keeping you?" As he spoke, Evil threw the little boy on the ground. The young woman jumped towards her son in surprise, but in the next moment, a big foot came crashing down and crushed the little boy's head in front of her. Ah! Eh! The young woman was stunned, and then she jumped towards her son's corpse like crazy. There was only the skinny body of the little boy that had lost his head, and the ground was covered in blood. Evil's sword turned, and blood flashed on the young woman's neck. She fell to the ground and stared blankly at her son's corpse. After killing these three, my magic power increased again. Not bad, not bad. Evil took a deep breath, a red light flashed on his face, but his expression was extremely calm. This kind of calmness was a bloodthirsty and cruel that was 10,000 times colder than coldness. Evil picked up a small wooden sword and felt the spiritual energy and magic power on it. This was what he obtained after killing the husband of the young woman. Those traders of the Society of the Strong Gale used this kind of magic item to locate the location of the great swamp of the ancient region. Evil walked out of the tent and looked at the Shinwu army soldiers that were waiting for him silently. He said calmly, "Let's go. Our target is the nest of the traders in the great swamp." Evil suddenly smiled. "We can't even let a trader go." In the depths of the great swamp of the ancient region, Lin Feng cautiously followed behind Yu Hongyan and the others. Suddenly, he shivered and turned his head to look behind him. What a heavy smell of blood and killing intent. Is it my imagination? Chapter 89. What a heavy smell of blood and murderous intent. Is it my imagination? Lin Feng turned his head to look behind him, but he couldn't sense the existence of anyone or anything. He could only shake his head and give up. But a shadow that he couldn't get rid of was left in his heart, as if some danger was nearby. Withdrawing his consciousness, Lin Feng looked towards Yu Hongyan's group, seeing Yu Hongyan take out a magic item that looked like a small wooden sword. The small wooden sword was activated by Yu Hongyan's mana. It flew into the air and spun a few times, then stopped, the tip of the sword pointing in a direction. Yu Hongyan put away the wooden sword. The group of three headed in the direction the wooden sword pointed. On the way, Lin Feng has already seen this kind of situation more than once. He already understood in his heart that Yu Hongyan and the other cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale are relying on this magic item to determine the direction in the great swamp of the ancient domain. Lin Feng followed behind them, advancing all the way into the depths of the swamp. After bypassing one dangerous area after another, they entered a sandy area. Stepping on the yellow sand, there was immediately solid ground under their feet. Lin Feng thought, there's actually such a dry sandy area in the great swamp of the ancient domain that's filled with swamps? It's practically like an oasis in the desert. Sandy area, could it be related to the galaxy sand? Lin Feng raised his eyes and gazed over. The sandy area was extremely vast, and it had a circumference of several tens of kilometers. At the center of the sandy area stood a lone mountain, and it looked extremely out of place in the great swamp of ancient domain. Lin Feng silently snuck up the barren mountain, with Yu Hongyan and the others leading the way. They very quickly arrived in front of a cave halfway up the mountain. The location of the cave is extremely well hidden. If it wasn't for following behind Yu Hongyan and the others, it would be very hard for Lin Feng to discover this place. Yu Hongyan and the others arrived in front of the cave. A voice suddenly came from the rocks beside them. Is Hongyan back? A head popped out from the rocks, greeting Yu Hongyan's group with a smile. It's the hidden sentries of the Society of the Strong Gale that were lying in ambush here. Yu Hongyan replied snappily, be vigilant. Don't easily expose your position during the shift. The person on the mountain rock laughed and said, I only spoke when I saw you guys. If it was Dog Zhou, I would have slashed him with my sword. Yu Hongyan and the other two stepped into the cave. Lin Feng was not in a hurry to move. Instead, he hid at the side and waited silently. In front of him, the figure of a middle-aged man is hiding behind the stone wall, avoiding the line of sight of the hidden sentries of the Society of the Strong Gale above the cave, and is currently quietly observing the cave. It's that divine martial officer. After carefully observing for a while, he took out a silver bracelet from his inventory bag, put it on his wrist, and chanted a spell. Lin Feng looked at his wrist and saw that the originally silver-white bracelet suddenly had a circle of black runes, which kept flowing on the bracelet. Black smoke rose from the black runes, wrapping around the divine martial officer's figure. The next moment, the color of the black smoke gradually became faint, until it became transparent. What was hidden along with it was also the figure of the divine martial officer himself. Lin Feng witnessed the entire process of the other party's concealment, so he was not moved by the illusion. His divine sense firmly locked onto the fluctuations of the officer's mana, so he could still accurately capture the other party's position. And so he saw the divine martial officer swagger towards the cave, openly passing under the eyes of the Society of the Strong Gale's hidden sentries, walking into the cave. Lin Feng grinned. This magic item's ability to conceal its tracks is much higher level than Lin Feng's stealth technique. But to pass through here, Lin Feng is far easier than him. The black cloud flag lightly waved, the effect of space travel activated. Lin Feng had already disappeared from where he stood. The next moment he directly appeared inside the cave. Entering the cave, Lin Feng put away the black cloud flag, following the tunnel all the way down. After walking for a short while, avoiding a few more waves of hidden sentries, passing through the end of the tunnel, the scene before Lin Feng's eyes suddenly became clear. The entire mountain peak is almost completely hollow. Inside the mountain peak is a huge cave. At the bottom of the cave, there are houses crisscrossing each other, smoke curling up from the chimneys. Impressively, it looks like a small village. From the distance came the sounds of dogs barking and children playing and playing. Lin Feng even smelled the fragrance of rice wafting into his nose. This. Lin Feng snuck into the village. He couldn't help but be a bit dumbfounded. A few children in the village ran past. One of them was holding a large rooster in his arms and was constantly flapping about. Behind them, a village woman furiously chased after them holding a broomstick. You stinking brats, you came to steal chickens again. I'll definitely teach you a lesson today. Lin Feng somewhat stared blankly at the scene in front of him. He is 100% sure that these women and children do not have the slightest bit of chi cultivating stage cultivation, they are the most ordinary mortals. As he walked into the village, the more Lin Feng looked, the more he frowned. In a house, a woman with a sickly face lies weakly on the bed, a thin girl chopping firewood and boiling water. After finishing the housework, she hurriedly carries a bowl of medicine to her mother, carefully scoops up a spoonful, and gently blows on it. After blowing on the medicine to cool down, the little girl brings the soup spoon to her mother. Watching her mother drink the medicine, the little girl's face bloomed with a happy smile. In another courtyard, a strong man easily plays with a stone lock. His son, who is only a few years old, also took off his shirt, bare his arms, revealing the small ribs on his upper body. The boy let out a childish shout, also lifting up a stone lock, as if presenting a treasure to his father. The man laughed, put down the stone lock, lifted up his son, let him ride on his shoulder, and spun in a circle. The boy rode on his father's shoulder, giggling happily. In a faraway large house came the sound of reading. Lin Feng walked over, and saw that in the courtyard, on rows upon rows of small benches, there were little people sitting upright, their hands behind their backs, reciting poems and books together in a clear voice. A man who looks like a teacher is standing beside them, holding a book in his hand. The teacher reads a sentence, the children will follow and read a sentence. The man's low and gentle voice and the child's crisp and tender voice rose and fell, intersecting and ringing out. In the house, a gentle woman, who seems to be the teacher's wife, is busy next to the stove, looking at the rice pot on top of the fire. Occasionally she would turn her head to look at her husband and the husband's group of students, letting out a soft laugh or two. Lin Feng was silent. These people are probably the remnants of Snow Gale from back then, the family and relatives of those cultivators of the Society of the Strong Gale. In the distance, the Shinwu lieutenant was hidden on the side, also blankly staring at the scene in front of him. His face was gloomy and uncertain, struggling in his heart. General Xie's murderous nature is overwhelming. If he finds this place he probably won't care that these people are just mortals, he'll still kill them all the same. In the end Suddenly a wave of mana fluctuation attracted the attention of Lin Feng and the lieutenant. In a large house at the east of the village, on an open space in the courtyard, several dozen teenagers are sitting cross-legged together, practicing qi and adjusting their breathing. In front of them stands a girl completely red. It's Yu Hongyan. Yu Hongyan raised her eyebrows that are as straight as two thin swords, saying, "Dog Zhou, a lot of people came this time. In the most dangerous situation you guys also have to go into battle and kill the enemy. If you don't train hard and increase your strength, how will you protect your family?" The group of teenagers in front of her didn't say anything, all of them focused on training, but it's as if a fire was ignited in everyone's heart. They're united against a common enemy. They're clearly just a group of teenagers who just entered the Qi disciple stage, but under the unity of will they exude an astonishing aura. The Shinwu lieutenant looked at the scene in front of him with a gloomy expression, closing his eyes. Forget it. Then he took out a sound transmission crystal from his storage bag, preparing to crush it. This crystal can allow him to directly communicate with General Xie. Right at the moment he was about to crush the sound transmission crystal, a black light flashed in front of his eyes. For a moment the world spun around him. When the lieutenant came back to his senses, he was already in a dark space. In the darkness, a young Taoist wearing a white robe and a crown of feathers and stars slowly walked out. It's Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at this Shinwu lieutenant, shaking his head. Even though I don't want to meddle in other people's business, but since I ran into you I can't just turn a blind eye. Chapter 90. Even though he often screws other people out of their eggs, Lin Feng has always believed that he is still a noble person, a pure person, a moral person, a person who has broken away from vulgar interests, a good person with a kind heart. As a good person, he had to have the most basic compassion and compassion. He didn't know what kind of person the commander of the Shinwu army was, but once the army charged into the mountain, the people in this small village would suffer. Lin Feng waved the black cloud flag and directly took away the officer. The officer's eyes flashed as he looked at the dark space inside the black cloud flag. A spatial magic artifact, and a golden elixir period magic artifact at that? He quickly judged the situation and put away the transmission crystal. Facing the spatial barrier of the black cloud flag, he couldn't contact the outside world even if he crushed the crystal. Lin Feng was also observing him and found that he didn't seem annoyed because he was trapped and couldn't contact others. At this moment, this officer actually had a relaxed expression as if he was relieved of a heavy burden. Lin Feng's heart moved, asking, "What's your name?" The officer calmly said, "I am Dao Jiqiang, the great Zhou Xinwu Army's front army, the officer of the 1st Brigade of the left camp." Lin Feng nodded. "Who is the commander of the Xinwu army this time?" Dao Jiqiang didn't answer this time. He just silently looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng glanced at him. "Apart from your name, I won't be able to get any more military intelligence from you. Is that what you mean?" Dao Jiqiang smiled. "You are an understanding person." Lin Feng shook his head. "Unfortunately, you are not. If I really want to know something, I can directly refine your soul. Do you think you can hide it?" Dao Jiqiang's expression slightly changed as he said, "That will depend on whether you have the ability or not." Lin Feng chuckled. "Loyal duty. I've been observing you for a long time, and I can tell that you actually don't want to pass on the information here to your superiors." Dao Jiqiang fell silent. He lowered his head and said nothing. "Where to go, think about it yourself." Lin Feng waved his sleeves and directly came out of the black cloud flag. After Lin Feng left, Dao Jiqiang had no intention of resisting. Instead, he sat down and stared blankly at the dark void. Seeing this, Lin Feng had an idea. It seems that the commander of the Xinwu army is very murderous. Even his subordinates are worried that he will slaughter mortals. Although this Dao Jiqiang has a sense of military discipline, he has his own way of thinking. Lin Feng thought, even though the Emperor of Zhou and the Marquis of Xuanji can gather cultivators and train them into an army, it's not a true army after all. Cultivators that seek to be free and unfettered are naturally in conflict with the army. Even if Dao Jiqiang causes trouble, Lin Feng has absolute confidence that he can suppress him with a flip of his hand. So he doesn't take it to heart and let him fend for himself in the black cloud flag. Lin Feng searched the village for a while and very quickly found a lone cultivator of the Society of the Strong Gale. Xiao Budian's sneak attack technique right now is already faintly showing signs of surpassing him, but Lin Feng is after all the creator of this secret technique of his sect. He even more deeply understands the 3 key points of speed, accuracy, and ruthlessness. The opponent is only a small Qi disciple stage cultivator. When Lin Feng silently snuck up behind him, he didn't even have the chance to grunt before being knocked down by a rod. The rod hit the back of the opponent's head, then without waiting for the opponent's body to soften and fall, Lin Feng already supported his body with incomparable agility and dragged him into a corner where there was no one. Directly opening the opponent's storage bag, some of the scattered items were all thrown to the side. Lin Feng grabbed a small wooden sword and carefully examined it. The craftsmanship of the wooden sword is very exquisite. The wood itself is not outstanding, but on the hilt of the sword there is a small crystal the size of a grain of sand embedded. Even though the size is extremely small, the crystal is overflowing with light, like the resplendent starry sky in the night, shining brightly. Galaxy sand. Lin Feng took a deep breath. The small crystal embedded on this wooden sword is actually the galaxy sand he was looking for. Even though there is only 1 grain of galaxy sand on the wooden sword, Lin Feng already knows that he found the right place. If every cultivator of the Society of the Strong Gale had a wooden sword like this, then just the galaxy sand on these wooden swords would already be a considerable amount. In Lin Feng's heart there was even more of a guess. These wooden sword magic items help the members of the Society of the Strong Gale find their way in the great swamp of the ancient region, letting them walk in the vast swamp shrouded in thick mist and miasma where spiritual energy is mixed and it is hard for their divine sense to be effective. It's very likely that they won't be able to find their way clearly. But these wooden swords, from start to finish, all point in one direction, that is this sandy area, this lonely mountain on this sandy area. Then what is the working principle of the wooden sword magic items? Could it be that there was a huge galaxy sand vein buried here, and the galaxy sand produced in this place was embedded in the wooden sword? Then, after it was refined by a secret method, it produced a strange resonance with the vein and guided the direction of the vein? Thinking up to here, Lin Feng no longer hesitated. Activating his mana, he brought up the wooden sword. The wooden sword spun a few times in midair and then stopped, the tip of the sword pointing in one direction. Lin Feng followed the direction the tip of the sword was pointing in, that is the end of the village, and even more so the back of the mansion where Yu Hongyan teaches Dao techniques to the youths of the village. After going around the mansion, a pile of rubble was revealed. Huge rocks over 10 meters long were piled up in disorder, like a small mountain. Lin Feng flipped over the huge rocks and saw that in the middle of the pile of rubble there was a pitch-black hole on the ground. Entering the pit, Lin Feng's brows immediately furrowed. Inside the hole the spiritual energy was actually extremely pure. Even Lin Feng, who has stayed in the great swamp of the ancient region for almost a month, was not used to this. But this is definitely not a good thing, the impure spiritual energy suddenly becoming pure. This is not something that can be caused by a simple rare treasure or a spirit stone mine. It can only be that a powerful cultivator made a move, or that someone laid down a powerful formation here. Under the effect of it, only then can the originally impure spiritual energy become pure and orderly. And these two situations, no matter which one it is, for Lin Feng neither is good news. Lin Feng raised his vigilance, following the tunnel all the way down. A moment later the scene before his eyes suddenly became clear. A faint golden sand dune appeared in front of Lin Feng, countless grains of sand flickering with a golden brilliance. It was incomparably dazzling. Below the sand dune, a stretch of sandy land was separated by a few streams. Silently the water flowed, the tinkling sound of the water had a strange rhythm, it was refreshing to listen to. But Lin Feng became even more vigilant. These few streams of water seemed to be disorderly, splitting the golden sand into pieces, but they faintly formed a huge talisman. It was this talisman that formed a mysterious formation, causing the spiritual energy in the whole to become pure. Lin Feng looked at the top of the sand dune. There sat a person. It was a young man in white. He looked incomparably weak, his face was pale, and even though he was sitting there, his forehead was constantly dripping with cold sweat. But Lin Feng did not dare to have the slightest thought of looking down on him. Even though the young man in white looked extremely weak as if he was suffering from a serious illness, but Lin Feng was completely unable to see through the depth of his cultivation. But at the same time, Lin Feng could vaguely feel that the young man in white had a close connection with the golden sand dune below him and the water talisman. To be able to control such a huge formation, naturally, he would not be an ordinary person who had not cultivated before. But Lin Feng could not see through the depth of his cultivation. There was only one possibility: this young man's actual cultivation was far above Lin Feng's. While Lin Feng was thinking, the young man in white suddenly spoke. A cultivator of the great Zhou dynasty? To be able to sneak in here, Yu Hongyan and the rest are getting more and more lazy. With that, the young man in white coughed dryly. The sand under Lin Feng's feet suddenly shook. Chapter 91. You actually managed to sneak in front of me. Yu Hongyan and the rest are getting more and more lazy. The white-clothed youth raised his hand to wipe the sweat from his forehead and coughed repeatedly. However, his seemingly weak body suddenly exploded with a shocking wave of mana, causing the golden sea of sand beneath him to shake violently. Lin Feng was still in the state of using the stealth technique, and with the system concealing his mana cultivation, it was reasonable to say that he would not be easily discovered. I was careless. As soon as the other party opened his mouth to speak, Lin Feng knew that something was wrong and subconsciously looked at the sand beneath his feet. This piece of golden sand clearly had an extremely strong detection ability. Once an outsider invaded, it would immediately sense it and let the white-clothed youth know. Through the sand, the white-clothed youth could not see through the system's concealment and could not sense the strength of the mana in Lin Feng's body. However, he could clearly sense that someone had stepped onto the sand. An outsider had broken in, but he was not able to sense it. This was enough to explain the problem. Therefore, the white-clothed youth immediately took action. The yellow sand that filled the sky rolled up and was about to swallow Lin Feng. Lin Feng frowned slightly and waved the black cloud flag. His entire body was wrapped in a ball of black light. As the black light flickered, it isolated the yellow sand outside. A golden elixir period artifact. However, it's damaged and can't stop me. The white-clothed youth weakly raised his hand and slowly formed a hand seal. From the stream that cut the sand, a water arrow emerged and fused with the yellow sand. Immediately, it turned into a murky yellow stream of water and flew towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt bitter in his mouth. The other party had not used his full strength, but he had already revealed the powerful strength of the golden elixir period. That turbid dark yellow stream of water actually easily broke through the protection of the black cloud flag's dark light, pouncing straight towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The grains of sand are heavy and condensed. One grain of sand weighs at least hundreds of kilograms. It's comparable to a boulder, but it's condensed and compressed to the size of a grain of sand. This time, there are thousands upon thousands of them. The grains of sand are heavy, but when they are swept up by the water, they blend with the nimbleness of the water. Their trajectories are unpredictable and difficult to avoid. Even if I manage to avoid them, the water will change its direction and catch up to me. This move of the white-robed young man had combined the heaviness of the earth with the nimbleness of the water. It was extremely profound. The defense of the black cloud flag was broken, but Lin Feng did not lose his calm. He still controlled the power of the black cloud flag to conceal his figure, but secretly undid the heaven cage sigil that sealed Tunten. What the hell is this? Tunten let out a strange cry, but could only helplessly block the spear for Lin Feng again. It reverted to its original form and painstakingly swallowed the dark yellow water. Eh. Cough 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 cough. I'm choking to death. Tunten angrily roared, Lin Feng, you bastard, if you let me eat these messy things again, I'll fight you to the death. Oh my, what is this stuff, it's choking me to death. Lin Feng snickered, it's good enough that you have something to eat, at least I'm thinking of changing it up for you. Tunten's curses continued to fill the sky. Lin Feng turned a deaf ear to it, once again using the heaven cage sigil to seal Tunten. Bastard, sooner or later I'll swallow you. Tunten rolled its eyes. The current her clearly had indigestion, her stomach was in terrible pain. Even without the heaven cage sigil, she wouldn't be able to cause any waves for a while. His own technique was soundlessly dissolved by the opponent. The white-robed young man's eyes flashed, his back that was bent due to the pain, slightly straightened up. Seeing this, Lin Feng frowned, rushing to say, Are you injured? The white-robed young man coughed dryly twice, No need for you to worry. If you have any ability, bring it on. Kang Nanhua will receive. Lin Feng put away the black cloud flag, revealing himself. With a wave of his wide sleeves, he turned on his pretentious mode and proudly said, I never take advantage of people, let alone bully an injured junior like you. The white-robed young man Kang Nanhua raised his head to look at Lin Feng, not saying anything. The current Lin Feng was wearing a wide-sleeved white robe, a feather robe and a star crown. His expression was noble and proud, calm and composed, truly having the appearance of an otherworldly master. He looked at Kang Nanhua, calmly saying, I have no relationship with the great Zhou dynasty, you don't need to be so careful. If I really have to say, there is even some friction between me and the great Zhou dynasty. Kang Nanhua raised his hand to wipe the cold sweat on his forehead, slowly saying, I'd like to hear the details. Lin Feng said, I have a disciple, the son of the great Zhou dynasty's Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Hongguo. Kang Nanhua was displeased, I feel like you are making fun of me. Lin Feng's expression was calm, if you knew that my disciple almost died under his own father's hands, you wouldn't think like this. Kang Nanhua's gaze flashed with a bit of understanding, Xiao He and the others half a year ago tried to kidnap a bastard son of Zhu Hongguo. In the end they failed and were rescued by the house of the Marquis of Xuanji's Huang San. But afterwards there was news that the bastard's son and Huang San disappeared together. I remember that the bastard's son is called Zhu Yi. Could it be that you are referring to him? Lin Feng smiled indifferently. A month ago, in the forest of the Great Qin dynasty's southern border, I just killed the second steward under Zhu Hongguo. He seemed to be called Tao Er, right? He wanted to harm my disciple, so I killed him. Kang Nanhua was silent, his gaze flashing. It was unknown what he was calculating. After a long while, Kang Nanhua opened his mouth to ask, "Then why did you come here?" Lin Feng said honestly, "I came here to find a type of mineral called galaxy sand." Kang Nanhua asked, "How much do you need?" Lin Feng was overjoyed in his heart. There really is galaxy sand here. But when Kang Nanhua asked him how much, this question stumped Lin Feng. Who knows how much galaxy sand is needed to repair that broken mirror? After Lin Feng thought for a moment, he asked probingly, 1 cubic meter, do you have it? Hearing this, Kang Nanhua frowned, "I can't give you that much." Lin Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. This Kang Nanhua just said, "I can't give you that much," and not, "I don't have that much." That means that he actually has over 1 cubic meter of galaxy sand on hand, but is not willing to give Lin Feng that much. Lin Feng's thoughts flew quickly. He has no enmity with the other party, it really isn't worth fighting to the death. If he can obtain galaxy sand through trade, that would be the best. Just as he was thinking, Lin Feng suddenly felt something move in his bosom. Lin Feng examined it without batting an eyelid, only to discover that the thing that moved was none other than the stone flute that Long Yi gave him that day. Ever since Lin Feng obtained this stone flute half a year ago, he has pondered over it a lot, but in the end he didn't find anything, making him wonder if that which Long Yi was lying to him. Who would have thought that when facing Kang Nanhua today, it would suddenly move? Could it be that this sickly-looking white-clothed youth in front of him is actually related to this stone flute? Lin Feng stealthily took out the stone flute and secretly observed it, only to discover that there is actually a trace of strange mana fluctuations in the stone flute, slightly trembling. That mana fluctuation spread out and came into contact with Kang Nanhua. Kang Nanhua, who was riddled with pain, suddenly became spirited, only feeling that his old injuries that were like maggots in his bones actually soothed a lot. Kang Nanhua looked at Lin Feng in shock. Seeing him like this, Lin Feng was also secretly shocked in his heart. This stone flute can actually heal his injuries? Discovering this, Lin Feng's heart relaxed a lot, but he still didn't dare to be careless. Now that I have this kind of bargaining chip, it will be much easier to bargain with him. But this person is already so powerful while injured, if I let him recover, wouldn't it be even harder to deal with him? Lin Feng thought for a bit and decided to first try to find out more about him, asking seemingly unintentionally, "You're also a remnant of Snowgale?" "No, that's not the case." Kang Nanhua shook his head. "If I really had to say, I can actually be counted as a citizen of the Zhou dynasty." Lin Feng was a bit surprised. Kang Nanhua's gaze revealed an expression of reminiscence. "My parents were both citizens of the Zhou dynasty. Before I started cultivating, I also studied poetry and books hard, even passing the imperial exams of the Zhou dynasty." Lin Feng questioned closely, "Then why are you now making an enemy of the Zhou army? Did your family die in the hands of the Zhou people?" Kang Nanhua shook his head. "My parents both passed away painlessly after their lifespans reached the limit. I've succeeded in cultivating, even though I wholeheartedly wanted to extend their lifespans. In the end I didn't succeed. But the two old people both lived to 100 years old, there's nothing to regret." Lin Feng's gaze flashed. "You have a lover in this society of the strong gale?" He thought of that girl Yu Hongyan who is like a raging fire. Putting aside her unyielding and straightforward temper, she really is a little beauty that can bring disaster to a country and bring disaster to the people, an absolute calamity level. Kang Nanhua seemed to know what he was thinking. Hearing what was said, she smiled. "You've seen Hongyan?" "Hee, even though I don't reject relationships between men and women, but up until now of cultivating, I've never met a member of the opposite sex that moved my heart. Hongyan also counts." Only a ghost would believe you. Lin Feng secretly curled his lips, asking, then why are you helping the Society of the Strong Gale? Kang Nanhua calmly said, one of the founders of the Society of the Strong Gale, Yu Hongfeng, and I are friends of life and death. Before he died he entrusted me to look after and protect his compatriots, I promised him. Lin Feng's pupils abruptly shrank, his gaze tightly staring at Kang Nanhua. Even though the white-clothed youth's face was covered in cold sweat from the torment of his injuries, his expression was calm and composed, not having the intention of complaining about the trouble, nor did he have the arrogance of believing himself to be a hero. It was as if he was doing something that was only natural. His voice was so calm, as if fighting against a colossus like the great Zhou dynasty is similar to an egg hitting a rock, a mantis trying to stop a chariot, something that is normal and reasonable, just like how people eat and sleep. Not to mention Emperor of Zhou Yangpan, the Marquis of Xuanji Zhu Hongguo, these kinds of ambitious and ruthless characters, not to mention the killing machines like the Xinwu army, even the stewards of the Marquis of Xuanji's house, Tao Er and Huang San are all cultivators of the same level as him in the Golden Elixir period. Fighting against a force like this he could die at any time, but Kang Nanhua seemed to turn a blind eye to all of these dangers. Even if he himself is already riddled with pain. All of this is only because he promised his old friend and made a promise, so he has to keep his promise. No matter how the road ahead is filled with thorns, mountains of knives and seas of fire, the things I promised I will definitely do it, even if I have to pay with my life. Lin Feng looked at Kang Nanhua, for some reason a sentence suddenly appeared in his mind. A promise made must be kept for a lifetime. Chapter 92. Lin Feng looked at Kang Nanhua, and after a moment of silence, he said, I might have a way to treat your injury, but I can't guarantee that it will be completely healed. With that, Lin Feng took out the stone flute. The stone flute emitted a weak fluctuation of magic power. It was pure and gentle, and it was hard to discern its origin. When Kang Nanhua came into contact with this fluctuation of magic power, he immediately felt his body relax, and even his pale complexion became a bit rosier. Is it because of the galaxy sand? Kang Nanhua frowned and said, but this galaxy sand is of great use to me, and I really can't spare a cubic meter for you. Lin Feng was secretly surprised, and he didn't know why Kang Nanhua valued the galaxy sand so much. There is no need to worry about the galaxy sand. Lin Feng shook his head and said, this thing, I want to give it to you, so I will give it to you. There is no need for so many reasons, and you don't need to think too much about it. Just one thing. Today, I used this stone flute to treat your injury. You must not tell anyone about it. Can you do it? When Kang Nanhua heard this, he didn't feel overjoyed, nor did he hesitate. He just thought about it seriously and slowly nodded, I can do it. Every single word of his was spoken very slowly, and his tone was calm, but it carried a weight that was as heavy as 1,000 caddies. Lin Feng smiled slightly, then it's fine. As he said that, he raised his hand and threw the stone flute to Kang Nanhua. Kang Nanhua was slightly surprised. He didn't think that Lin Feng would give the stone flute to him so easily, or that Lin Feng would be so confident. He caught the stone flute and felt the fluctuation of magic power faintly resonating with his injury, and it was continuously healing his injury. Kang Nanhua took a deep breath and nodded to Lin Feng, thank you. He didn't hesitate and immediately used his magic power to communicate with the stone flute to heal his injury. When Kang Nanhua's magic power entered the stone flute and guided the mysterious power in the stone flute into his body, the originally ordinary stone flute suddenly changed. The gray and unremarkable stone flute suddenly emitted a misty white light, projecting an area of light and shadow in the air above Lin Feng and Luo Binghe. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed as he stared at the projection above his head. As the light and shadow fluctuated, a few scenes flashed by. The majestic mountains were surrounded by white clouds. Sunlight shone down, forming a long staircase at the top of the mountain. The staircase formed by sunlight reached the 9 heavens. In the void in the sky, a cave abode could be vaguely seen, as if it was hidden in an endless, overlapping space. Is that an extraterrestrial space similar to the void battlefield? Lin Feng pondered. Could it be the cave abode of some powerful immortal? This stone flute seems to be the key to opening the abode of immortals cave. This is probably why Yan Mingyue and Taishu Temple value it so much. Kang Nanhua opened his eyes, which were full of vigor. At this moment, although his face was still pale, at least he was not as weak as before. Sitting on the ground, he was sweating profusely. 10 years ago, I accidentally found this staircase in a mountain. I thought I had encountered an immortal fate, so I wanted to climb the staircase. Kang Nanhua looked at the projection and murmured, who would have thought that as soon as I stepped on the staircase, it was as if I was struck by lightning, and I was heavily injured on the spot. If I had not reacted quickly and retreated immediately, I would have died there. When Lin Feng heard this, he immediately frowned. Kang Nanhua was already a cultivator in the Golden Elixir period, but he was heavily injured after taking only one step on the staircase. How powerful was the restriction of this cave abode? What kind of powerful being could open up this cave abode and set up such a terrifying restriction? The stone flute might be related to the cave abode, but with just that stone flute, could he walk on the staircase to heaven? Kang Nanhua slowly said, since then, there has always been a mysterious force left in my body. Not only did it torture my body, but it also damaged my soul. Although I was lucky enough to survive, I was seriously injured until today. Lin Feng pondered for a while and asked, where is this mountain? Kang Nanhua shook his head, I once thought that whoever tied the bell should untie it. I was injured on the staircase to heaven, so maybe I could find a way to heal myself there. Of course, I was also somewhat unwilling, so I returned to the original place to search, but the staircase built by the sunlight had disappeared. After that, I went to look for it many times, but I found nothing. The staircase did not seem to be fixed in a certain place, but drifted in the turbulent space, appearing in different places at random times. Lin Feng knew that Kang Nanhua was speaking the truth. He observed the cave abode that was faintly discernible in the void and knew that this cave abode was indeed hidden in the void, moving along with the spatial turbulence. Kang Nanhua let out a long sigh, and for the first time since they met, he smiled, thank you for your help. I originally thought that this thing could only relieve and suppress my injuries, but now it seems that I have hope of recovering. In that case, I don't need this much galaxy sand. Not to mention 1 cubic meter, I can even provide more to you, Kang Nanhua said, his hands forming a seal. His body floated up from the golden sand dune and floated into the air. The golden sand dune under him slowly parted, revealing something buried underground. Lin Feng gazed over, it was as if he saw a starry sky appear before his eyes, countless bright stars twinkling with dazzling light. Under the golden sand dune, there was shockingly a vast amount of galaxy sand buried. Kang Nanhua explained, before I had old injuries and was unable to activate the Eternal River quicksand formation set up here. I had no choice but to continuously refine this galaxy sand and then rely on the refined sand to operate the formation, otherwise I really wouldn't be able to protect the members of the Society of the Strong Gale and their families here. Now that I have your help, I have hope of recovering. There's no harm in giving all the galaxy sand here to you. Lin Feng looked at Kang Nanhua, not saying anything for a long time. From what he means, if it wasn't for the fact that Shirdi can completely heal his injuries and make him no longer need to rely on the vast amount of galaxy sand to maintain his strength, he would rather continue to endure the pain and torment of his injuries than make a deal with Lin Feng. Maintaining his strength, protecting those people of the Society of the Strong Gale, keeping his promise to his old friend, in Kang Nanhua's eyes, is far more important than relieving the pain that has suppressed and tortured him for 10 years. Lin Feng was silent for a long time, suddenly asking, is it worth it? Kang Nanhua was dazed for a moment before reacting to the meaning of Lin Feng's question. He smiled calmly, there's nothing worth it or not worth it, there's also nothing noble or not noble, my nature is like this, I wanted to do this so I did this. If I really want to care about gains and losses, seeking fortune and avoiding calamity, going against my nature, it will instead give rise to inner demons, detrimental to cultivation. The losses outweigh the gains. From a certain point of view, I can also be considered as having no other choice. Everyone's path is different. I feel that this is the path that belongs to me, so I kept on walking. Lin Feng nodded his head, not saying anything else. The black light of the black cloud flag rolled up, already scooping up a large handful of galaxy sand. Kang Nanhua also didn't say anything else, closing his eyes and silently channeling his Dao technique, concentrating on communicating with the stone flute and healing his injuries. Within the black cloud flag, Lin Feng first further shattered the galaxy sand, making it as fine as powder, then he carefully filled in the damaged area of the copper mirror with this powder, then injected his mana into it. Even though the copper mirror's damage was severe, injuring its foundation wasn't weak. It still contained a bit of spiritual energy. This spiritual energy was nourished by Lin Feng's mana, immediately becoming lively. However, contrary to Lin Feng's expectations, after being stimulated by him, the copper mirror suddenly seemed to come to life, producing a strange suction force, greedily devouring Lin Feng's mana. Although Lin Feng was shocked, he didn't panic. As he slowly withdrew his mana, he also tried to establish a connection with the copper mirror. With the injection of Lin Feng's mana, the copper mirror's recovery was almost instantaneous. Just from the outside, one could see that the copper mirror was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. What made Lin Feng feel at ease was that he didn't discover that the copper mirror had a consciousness. This meant that although the copper mirror was greedily devouring Lin Feng's mana, there was no one behind it. It was just a kind of repair. In order to deal with the mana loss caused by repairing the copper mirror, Lin Feng swallowed an entire bottle of mana replenishing yuan recovery pills one by one like eating beans. Damn, a chi-gathering cultivator treats a origin replenishing pill like a treasure. Only I can repair magic treasures like this. When the origin replenishing pills were used up, Lin Feng felt that the copper mirror's devouring of his mana had slowed down. Lin Feng carefully looked at the copper mirror. The damaged mirror had been completely repaired. The bright mirror clearly reflected Lin Feng's figure. The entire copper mirror looked ancient, no different from an ordinary mirror, causing Lin Feng's heart to pound. Although there is a saying, divine objects conceal themselves, good objects will hide their own brilliance, they are relatively low-key. But doesn't this look a bit too ordinary? As if protesting against Lin Feng's underestimation, as the repair was completed, the copper mirror's surface lit up with a dim yellow light. The word, heaven and earth, faintly appeared on the surface of the mirror. As soon as the word, heaven and earth, appeared, Lin Feng heard a system notification. Host has successfully repaired the heaven and earth mirror, completing the random side quest of repairing the heaven and earth mirror. Reward, 500 exchange points. Lin Feng wanted to laugh out loud, but without hesitation, he immediately entered the exchange system. Chapter 93. Together with the remaining 700 exchange points, Lin Feng, who had completed the side mission of the universe mirror, had a total of 1,200 exchange points. Without wasting any time, Lin Feng entered the exchange system and immediately exchanged for the heavenly wind scripture. Looking at the main mission, the black hole representing wind in the self-created Taoist method system also lit up. Lin Feng smiled. There is still one more. After exiting the system, he found that it had taken him a lot of time to repair the universe mirror. With the help of the stone flute, Kang Nanhua had also reached the final stage of healing his injuries. His face no longer had the slightest sickly look, and his whole body was in high spirits. Powerful waves of magical power spread out in circles, and the golden sand and flowing water kept circling around him. After a long time, Kang Nanhua opened his eyes, and the waves of magical power around him gradually subsided. Looking at Lin Feng, he smiled. Thanks to you, I can heal my injuries. He opened his palm, and the stone flute, which had returned to its ordinary appearance, was supported by magical power and handed to Lin Feng through the air. Both Lin Feng and Kang Nanhua clearly knew the extraordinariness of the stone flute, but Kang Nanhua was not greedy. As soon as his injuries were healed, he returned it to Lin Feng without any reluctance. Lin Feng took the stone flute, shook his head and said, "You don't have to be so polite. But this place is actually not safe. Since I can find this place, Zhou Jun will find this place sooner or later. If you really want to keep your promise to your old friend, you'd better find a way out as soon as possible and leave with the survivors of the Snowgale country as soon as possible." Kang Nanhua replied, "To tell you the truth, I also have this intention. Before, I stayed here and didn't leave mainly because I was injured and had to use the geographical conditions here to lay a formation to protect them. Now that my strength has recovered, although I dare not boast that I can protect them completely, at least there is a lot more room for maneuver, and I don't have to defend this place to death." Lin Feng nodded, "Since you have already made arrangements, I won't talk much nonsense. You and I will say goodbye here. If we are fated to meet in the future, maybe there will be a day where we can sit and talk." Kang Nanhua smiled and said, "Thank you for your auspicious words. I look forward to that day." "Me too." Lin Feng laughed and waved the black cloud flag. His body turned into a black light and flew out. Lin Feng flew out of the hole and concealed his figure so as to not alarm anyone. He used the black cloud flag's spatial shifting ability to leave the lonely sandy mountain and once again entered the swamp area of the ancient domain marsh. Lin Feng's heart suddenly stirred. He saw that in the space inside the black cloud flag, the divine martial lieutenant Dao Jiqiang that he had captured, once again took out the sound transmission crystal. However, Dao Jiqiang did not crush the sound transmission crystal to contact the outside world. Instead, he stared blankly at the sound transmission crystal in his palm. After a while, Dao Jiqiang's eyes focused again, as if he had made up his mind about something. He threw the voice transmission crystal away. The voice transmission crystal disappeared into the surging black light of the black cloud flag. Lin Feng could obviously get it, but Dao Jiqiang definitely couldn't get it back. After throwing away the voice transmission crystal, Dao Jiqiang felt as if he had been relieved of a heavy burden. His entire spirit and appearance became different. He was no longer depressed and was in high spirits. Lin Feng appeared and faintly asked, "Have you thought it through? If I remember correctly, your actions just now were equivalent to betraying the divine martial army." Dao Jiqiang calmly nodded his head and said, "That's right, but just like what Kang Nanhua said, this is my nature and cannot be violated. I think this is the right thing to do, so I did it." At this point, his expression became a bit gloomy. "If it wasn't for the fact that the leader this time was General Xia, I definitely wouldn't have done this. However, if General Xia found this place, everyone, regardless of whether they are cultivators or mortals, would not be able to escape death. This is something I don't want to see." Lin Feng faintly said, "How you decide is up to you. Just don't regret it in the future." His consciousness retreated from the black cloud flag and then he took out the universe mirror from his storage bag. Just now, he felt that the universe mirror was a bit strange. Lin Feng's magic power poured into the universe mirror. The surface of the mirror immediately lit up with a faint light. The surface of the mirror became no longer clear and became like a muddy water surface. A small bright yellow dot appeared in the center of the khaki mirror, and around the bright yellow dot, there was a dense circle of red dots. What does this represent? Lin Feng's pupils suddenly constricted, a bad premonition rising in his heart. The bright yellow light spot is in the center of the mirror. This position should be my current position, or the position of the mirror of heaven and earth right now. Lin Feng slightly furrowed his brows. Then what should these red light spots represent? There are big and small red dots. The big ones are few, only a few dozen, while the smaller red dots number at least several thousand. Lin Feng gazed into the distance, expanding his sensory ability to the limit. He saw that in the thick miasma of the great marsh, there were actually countless figures flashing about. Faintly discernible, they were surrounding the sandy land and lonely mountain under Lin Feng's feet from all directions. Lin Feng's heart instantly sunk to the bottom. He already knew the identity of the people who came. The Great Zhou Dynasty, the Xinwu army. The red specks of light on the mirror of heaven and earth reflected the existence of these people. The larger ones represented foundation establishment cultivators, while the smaller ones represented aura refining cultivators. The Xinwu army has already discovered the lonely mountain where the people of the Society of the Strong Gale are hiding, so the main force came to surround and annihilate them. Lin Feng fished out Dao Jiqiang from the black cloud flag. After Dao Jiqiang saw the scene in front of him, he was extremely shocked. "I clearly didn't, I know you didn't." Lin Feng directly interrupted his words. Dao Jiqiang was in the space inside the black cloud flag, his every move was under Lin Feng's surveillance. Lin Feng naturally didn't do anything behind the scenes. Lin Feng looked at the battle formation in the distance, the Xinwu army that had already charged out of the thick mist. He asked Dao Jiqiang, "I called you out to ask you, how is the combat power of this Xinwu army, who is the leader?" Dao Jiqiang hesitated for a moment, but still answered, "This is the left camp of the vanguard of the Xinwu army. The vanguard is the vanguard of the entire Xinwu army. They are the first to attack in every battle, they are the vanguard of the Xinwu army. The left camp that I'm in is only the flank of the vanguard, so it isn't as strong as the vanguard. The vanguard is the vanguard of the Xinwu army, and the vanguard is the vanguard of the vanguard. All the soldiers of the vanguard are the best at fighting and have the most combat experience. Their average cultivation is also one level higher than the other camps." At this point, Dao Jiqiang's expression slightly changed, but that is in the past. Not long ago, the commander of the left camp was punished and demoted. The higher-ups transferred the commander of the vanguard to our left camp. Lin Feng's expression didn't change. "The General Xia you mentioned? His surname is Xia, what is his name?" Dao Jiqiang forcefully shook his head. "It's not his surname, his full name only has one word, Xia. Before joining the Xinwu army, he was a vagrant cultivator. Rumor has it that he was the descendant of the slaughtering god Gate that was once extremely ferocious in the ancient era but has now been annihilated. Rumor has it that General Xia entered the Dao through killing and is bloodthirsty. I have never seen someone as cold and bloodthirsty as him. Anyone he doesn't like will be killed by him. Not to mention cultivators, even mortals, women, and children have died in his hands." Slowly, Dao Jiqiang's expression was ashen. In the past, General Xia massacred hundreds of mortal cities when he attacked other countries. Although his cultivation is only at the Golden Elixir period, his notoriety is great and he is known as the #1 butcher of the Xinwu army. Lin Feng took a deep breath and wanted to ask more questions, but a shocking murderous intent suddenly erupted from the Xinwu army. "You dare to spy on our formation with a broken Golden Elixir period artifact? Die, you cowardly scoundrel!" Before he finished speaking, a black sword aura flew out of the void and pierced towards Lin Feng in the sky. The sword aura was as black as ink and contained a terrifying aura of endless slaughter, death, and destruction. It condensed the murderous intent of countless dead souls. The door-sized sword aura wanted to tear the sky apart. Lin Feng wanted to control the black cloud flag to teleport but found that the surrounding space seemed to have been locked. The flag was actually useless. In shock, Lin Feng looked towards the Xinwu army's formation and saw that the magic power of the 3,000 Xinwu army cultivators seemed to be connected into one, vast and endless. The majestic magical power condensed together, and the chi rushed into the sky. It actually completely locked the space around the desert and the lonely mountain. Even the poisonous miasma in the great swamp of the ancient region had to retreat. The area where the Xinwu army was located was directly cleared out. The black cloud flag couldn't be used while that murderous and bloodthirsty black sword aura was already right in front of Lin Feng. Chapter 94. The sword aura was as black as ink and contained endless murderous intent and death. Facing this sword, Lin Feng felt like he was facing a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. He looked in the direction of the sword aura and saw a middle-aged man in heavy armor standing silently at the front of the Xinwu army's formation. He seemed to be the sharpest and most murderous point on the tip of the sword. He exuded an unparalleled power. Evil? Lin Feng frowned slightly. In a split second, the 24 Heaven Arhat formation had been set up. The Buddhist aura and Sanskrit chants filled the air and protected Lin Feng in the middle. Without hesitation, the 3 flame arhats rose above his head and revealed the Akalanatha Dharma body in the boundless sea of fire. It shot out a beam of Akalanatha's wrath and intercepted the black sword aura midway. The milky white flame seemed weak, but it was indestructible. It instantly burned the black sword aura to ashes. Although the sword aura disappeared, the thick murderous intent and death lingered for a long time. It turned into rolling black smoke and circled in front of Lin Feng. Evil, who was at the front of the army, didn't move. He only raised his brows slightly. Wrath of Akalanatha. Sarira. Damn Baldy from the Tempest Temple. He asked 3 times, but he didn't need Lin Feng to answer. A smile suddenly appeared on Evil's face. You still have to die. With that, Evil suddenly took a step forward and disappeared in the next second. The highest level of alarm sounded in Lin Feng's mind. His hair stood on end. Behind him, a pitch-black sword aura as thin as wheat noiselessly tunneled into the light of Buddha formation, moving unimpeded in the golden mist of light like a swimming fish, rapidly stabbing towards Lin Feng's back. Although the sword light was small, like the tip of a needle, as long as this sword hit, it could instantly annihilate Lin Feng from his body to his soul, leaving him no chance of survival. Although the Buddhist light could not block the sword light, it immediately let Lin Feng know that someone was sneaking up on him from behind. Lin Feng wanted to use the cloud dragon escape to dodge, but he had a feeling that no matter how he dodged, that needle-like pitch-black sword light would follow him closely. It was like a maggot attached to the bone, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake it off. Under this sword strike, there was no way out, and all paths of survival were sealed off. One could only wait helplessly for death and receive the sword strike calmly. The sword technique Great Tao mystique passed down from the ancient killing god sect, the heaven-defying absolute sword. Between heaven and earth, there was always a chance of survival. It was said that in the 49 Dayan numbers, missing one would give life. However, the killing god sect's sword technique forcefully defied the heavens, exterminating all life and cutting off all hope. It was a sword of absolute killing, hence its name, the heaven-defying absolute sword. Lin Feng frowned tightly. Although he was shocked, he did not panic. In the sea of fire above his head, the unmovable Wisdom King's Dharmakaya shouted, "My Buddha is merciful," and also transforms into anger and anger. Unleash endless anger, destroy all demons, and burn everything. Following this shout, the milky white unmovable Wisdom King's fury shot out from the vertical eye between the Wisdom King's brows. It turned into a hazy rain of fire and enveloped Lin Feng's entire body. Lin Feng's body suddenly stopped. The pitch-black sword light had already caught up and was about to stab at his back. However, it was blocked by the unmovable Wisdom King's fury around Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng snorted coldly, "I've caught you this time." The unmovable Wisdom King's fury that originally covered his body like a shield quickly gathered at his back. It used all its strength to face Evil's heaven-defying absolute sword. After the pitch-black sword light came into contact with the milky white flame, it suddenly exploded. It turned into a rainstorm like black sword light and stabbed towards Lin Feng. The boundless sword chi ocean seemed like it was going to drown Lin Feng and then completely tear him apart. The unmovable Wisdom King's fury blocked the opponent's attack. However, Lin Feng's heart could not relax. Instead, the sense of danger was getting stronger and stronger. Evil's figure slowly rose up from the boundless sword chi ocean. He walked towards Lin Feng step by step. His monstrous killing intent almost froze Lin Feng. "So you're just a little ant at the chi cultivating stage. Luckily, you got a Buddhist sarira and refined it into a magical weapon." Evil's expression was calm as he said, "All right, now, praise me. Otherwise, I'm going to kill you." Lin Feng's eyebrows twitched, "Praise you?" Is there something wrong with your brain? Of course not. Evil said very seriously, I'm cultivating the ancient killing path. Only by killing can I improve my cultivation. Therefore, I keep killing people. I've killed too many people. In the end, I've become numb, confused, and tired of it. Only after killing people and being praised by others, I feel that killing has a new meaning. So, now, praise me. Lin Feng grinned, so you really are sick in the brain. It's my fault for being so calculative with you. Evil shook his head, you don't want to. Then you can die now. Before he finished speaking, Evil's long sword finally came out of its sheath and stabbed towards Lin Feng. The boundless sword Qi and the black sword light in the air all disappeared at this moment. They all gathered on Evil's sword and stabbed towards Lin Feng's forehead. In front of Lin Feng's eyes, the small sword tip filled his entire field of vision. It became almost infinitely big. At this moment, the rice grain-sized sword tip was the whole world. There was nothing left except for this sword. There was no way to retreat, no place to escape. Lin Feng laughed. Fury of the Akalanatha was originally an attack-type divine art. It was a waste to use it for defense. Facing Evil's sword, Lin Feng didn't even defend himself. All the fury of the Akalanatha attacked Evil. Evil ignored this, thrusting his sword straight at the center of Lin Feng's brows. Even if he was killed by the fury of the Akalanatha, he still wanted to kill Lin Feng first. The path of absolute killing, only attacking and not defending. It didn't leave a way out for the enemy. It also didn't leave a way out for oneself. It was either you die or I die. This was the heaven-defying ultimate sword. It went against the heaven and cut off all life. Lin Feng's expression finally changed. He could clearly tell that compared to his fury of the Akalanatha, Evil's sword was faster. If the two fought to the death, the result would be that he would be pierced by this heaven-defying ultimate sword. At the critical moment, Lin Feng became even calmer. His mind communicated with the 24 Heaven Arhat formation. At the same time, his mana instantly changed from the art of Akalanatha to the Ksitigarbha Sutra. Those 24 sariras that form the formation are all the remains and spirit bones of the Great Thunder Temple's Buddhist monks. 3 of these Buddhist powerhouses cultivated the art of Akala, and so Lin Feng used these 3 sariras as the core to unleash the fury of the Akala king. Now, under the guidance of Lin Feng's Ksitigarbha Sutra, one of the 24 Arhat silhouettes had a reaction. The other 23 Arhat silhouettes chanted the name of Buddha at the same time. They all turned into golden Buddha light and rushed towards that Arhat silhouette. They merged into his body. This golden Arhat's body shone brightly. The light was not dazzling. Instead, it was dark yellow and heavy like the earth. The appearance of the golden Arhat slowly changed. It turned into a bodhisattva holding a pearl in his left hand and a staff in his right hand. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. As long as hell is not empty, I vow not to become a Buddha. Only when all living beings are saved can I attain Bodhi. The distant Buddhist voice seemed to come from the heavens. It also seemed to come from hell. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and Lin Feng's body combined into one. They turned into a golden body. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Just as Lin Feng formed his Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, he saw Evil's sword tip was only 3 inches away from his forehead. Its killing intent soared to the heavens. The cold air of the sword froze Lin Feng's entire body. He was unable to move. The situation was extremely dangerous. Clang! A crisp sound. Evil's sword had already touched Lin Feng's forehead. However, it was unable to pierce through. It was forcefully blocked by Lin Feng's Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Even though Lin Feng's forehead was in pain and the powerful force almost made his mind a mess, facing Evil's killing blow, Lin Feng used his Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva to block it. The entire process happened in a split second. Evil One's sword did not complete, his body completely turned into a phantom, surrounding Lin Feng's body. In an instant it was thousands of stabs, all of Lin Feng's vital points were all stabbed once. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was a famous defensive magical art from the Layin Temple. It withstood the test and didn't break through evil's sword. Other than the Akalanatha flame, there's still the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Evil frowned and suddenly withdrew his sword. His figure flashed and landed in front of the army. Lin Feng didn't relax. Instead, he became more vigilant. This bloodthirsty madman before him wouldn't retreat in the face of difficulties. Abnormal actions often meant more violent attacks. Evil, who landed in front of the army, raised his sword and fused with the 3,000 cultivators of the Xinwu army. His murderous intent soared to the sky and almost swept the entire world. Seeing this, some information about the Xinwu army suddenly flashed through Lin Feng's mind. Not good, it's the Xinwu Immortal Execution Formation. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.